Pour prendre comme veine.
Voilà, ce qui restera. Ce que tu as envie.
La réponse, c'est un truc pas personnel, c'est on traitera votre demande, la Maïf.
Ben, au moins, ils ont reçu, c'est la preuve qu'ils ont reçu le papier. Je te l'ai fait suivre. Viens voir ce beau dessin d'enfant de 3 ans.
C'est que ça, une image avec ça me dit quelque chose, ça. C'est un enfant ou un adulte?
Non, non, c'est un enfant. Bonjour, enfant.
Bonjour.
Est-ce que vous
Bonjour, professeur.
m'entendez?
Je vous entends très très bien. Est-ce que vous m'entendez aussi?
Parfait. Bon, alors, c'est parfait. C'était un petit problème de réglage. J'avais appuyé sur un bouton où il ne fallait pas.
D'accord. Alors,
Voilà.
on est enregistré en ce moment, hein? Je voulais juste vous faire signe. Et
D'accord.
je vais écrire à Kat tout de suite pour lui dire qu'on est là.
Bien.
Oui.
L'ordre,
Juste...
on est bien d'accord. J'ai un petit mot d'introduction.
Mhm.
Ensuite, Kat, Margaret, Lucia et David.
Juste une seconde, je vais lui envoyer le message.
D'accord.
Voilà. Elle va nous rejoindre tout de suite, Kat. Tout de suite. Ok, c'est bon. Oui, professeur. Alors,
Oui,
je
alors
vais...
l'ordre de passage, c'est Kat,
Oui.
Margaret, Lucia et David.
Tout à fait. Et c'est moi qui vais introduire Kat, Janicka, Katarzyna,
Parfait.
au début. Très très bien. Est-ce que vous voulez que j'explique dès le départ qu'on aura 30 minutes par participant et qu'on essaye de... Si jamais ça prend moins de 30 minutes, c'est tant mieux. Mais
Très
si
bien.
Très très bien. Parfait. Excellent. On fait comme ça alors. Je vous entends très très bien. Tout va bien. Kat va nous
Bon,
rejoindre, hein.
j'aurais
Oui,
dû vous demander si vous alliez bien.
ça va, j'arrive à naviguer les
Bon,
préparatifs d'examen.
en
Merci,
tout cas,
professeur.
ne
Oui,
vous en faites pas pour le temps où vous serez, comment dire, occupé par ailleurs, hein.
à
Je
Toronto, oui.
souscris tout à fait à ce qu'a dit Florent Pasquier, et d'ailleurs, nous avions parlé, hein.
Ah, d'accord, j'apprécie énormément la compréhension.
Voilà.
Ah,
Et je
énormément.
viens de vous envoyer un
Mhm.
programme prévisionnel pour le 21 avril.
Ah, merci, c'est super. Je pourrais
Hein.
finaliser.
Votre présentation pour en faire un document était parfaite, hein. Je vais
Tout à fait.
simplement rajouter trois mots.
Merci,
Voilà.
merci. Alors, je vais le voir ce dimanche avant le café TD et je vais vous répondre s'il y a lieu de
D'accord.
finaliser, oui, le tour.
Alors,
Très
le
bien,
café
professeur.
TD, j'ai
Oui.
voulu envoyer de nouveau une annonce à la Framaliste, mais je n'avais pas le lien,
Le lien, c'est moi qui ai créé le lien Zoom pour le café TD, n'est-ce pas?
je crois.
Oui. Donc, vous aviez une question par rapport au lien, vous avez dit?
Alors, est-ce que vous auriez pu envoyer à la Framaliste une...
Oh oui. Je pense que ça a été déjà envoyé par vous et par Natalia, si je ne me trompe pas.
Oui, mais on peut le faire une deuxième fois.
Très bien, d'accord. Donc, on a l'autorisation. Parce que il y a des fois des personnes qui n'aiment pas recevoir 2-3 fois le même courriel, mais je vais le réenvoyer.
C'est vrai, mais en même temps, j'observe que quand il y a des événements comme ceci, on
Oui.
reçoit quelquefois jusqu'à 5, 6, 7 ou 8 courriels concernant le même événement.
Ah d'accord, donc c'est acceptable.
Voilà, donc
Très, très
2,
bien.
ce n'est quand même pas trop.
Oui, très très bien. Excusez-moi juste une seconde, professeur, je vous reviens. Une trentaine de secondes, peut-être moins.
Pas de problème.
Merci. Parfait, ça a pris moins de temps que cela.
Voilà. Je reviens à la discrétion de Natalia.
Hello, Kat.
Bonjour Kat. Hello Kat.
How is the
I
sound,
just have
Kat?
to make sure I'm in the monastery. Make sure that you can hear me, okay?
Ah,
Because
okay.
the internet
Very
is
well.
not that great. I'm by the ocean. I'm putting the headphones on, and you tell me if it's still good, okay?
Okay,
How is now? Can you hear me?
perfect. I can hear you.
Yes.
Very well. Do you want to
Okay,
try
I'm
to share
connecting.
your screen?
Give me one more second. I'm connecting to the AirPods.
Sure.
Oui, c'est que
Hello?
Natalia nous avait
Yes.
envoyé un email.
Pardonnez-moi, professeur. Katarzyna, Kat, you were saying?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear
Ah,
me?
voilà, Natalia.
You are with the earphones
Hello.
on, yeah? You are with your earphones
Can I share
on?
the screen just to make sure?
Yes.
Hello,
Yes,
Natalia.
please.
Yes.
Yes, you
Can I
can
share
share
the
the
Good
screen?
evening.
Yes. Perfect. And can you talk at the same
Works?
time, Kat?
Everything works?
Everything works. So I can hear you. I can see your screen.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
So stop sharing for now.
Fantastic. So good morning. Good evening. Good morning
Good
to
evening.
Kat. Good evening to everyone. And good day to me. Pour moi, c'est bonjour. Hein? How
Kat,
are you,
are you
Kat?
in San Francisco?
I'm in Big Sur, in the monastery for silent retreat. So I will be speaking gently because they're sitting zazen meditating. I'm with the Soto Zen Sangha. It's by Monastery Beach in Big Sur, Carmel. 2
Big
hours
Sur.
towards LA from San
Yes,
Francisco.
okay.
Big Sur, beautiful. Where are you?
In France, in Toulouse. It's a city in the south of France.
Yeah. Of course, I know, yes. So we have France, Canada, and Natalia, are you connecting from
The
Georgia?
Middle East, from Lebanon, from the Middle East. Yes.
Lebanon. I knew that.
Yes.
That in Big Sur, your monastery you are now is not 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐿 Center?
Zen Center?
𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐿
Sorry?
Center.
Zen, c'est ça?
Excellent, that's right. It's around
yes.
2 hours
Do you
driving
know
from
it?
where I am. Excellence. It's a beautiful, yes, very well. It's a retreat center started by people who started my university. I'm doing my PhD. So it's the first tribe of LSD, the Stan Grove, the breathwork. In the late 60s they started. It's a great place. We should do our conference there next time.
I went there perhaps 20 years ago. Oh, no, 30 years ago.
30 years ago. Wow, amazing. Yeah, it's here. I'm on the same coast.
Yeah.
Pat, may I share with everyone that you are organizing a retreat in Tuscany when I introduce you?
Yes,
Margaret,
I have one
how are you?
in Tuscany, one in Crete. 2 coming now.
Okay, can you send me in the chat the dates for Crete? I have the ones for Tuscany. If you would like, it's up to you. Hi, Margaret.
It's okay. Just say September.
Welcome. September? Perfect. So So we're gonna officially start at 12 or earlier, maybe, if we have everyone here.
Margaret, in Tokyo are cherry trees in flowers?
Yeah. Not yet. It started. Not yet.
Ah,
Maybe in the end of March or mid-March.
ah.
We will start. Yeah.
We have
Bonjour
Mariana.
Mariana.
Bonjour.
Hello,
Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Hello, Margaret.
hi
I'm very
Mariana. How are
To
you?
be here. Bonjour.
I am happy that Mariana is joining us today. Kat, if you don't know Mariana, I would like for us to introduce each other. So we can do it now because we are on record, or we can do it officially at when everyone is here. Mariana, je te présente Kat, l'amie dont je t'ai parlé.
Enchantée, Kat.
The
How
three
do
of
you
us
do?
are yoga
Enchantée.
teachers. The three of us,
Very
we are
happy
yoga
to meet
teachers.
you.
Yes. Among other, of course, other things and other layers.
Enchantée.
Oui. Alors, I met Mariana in
Hello,
a yoga class,
Margaret.
How are
Yeah.
you?
and I
Good,
met
good.
Kat also in a yoga class. So,
So we have 3 yogis.
yes.
Yes, I'm very happy.
Absolutely.
Bonjour, Natalia.
Bonjour, bonjour. Tu es
Enchantée
radiante
de
aujourd'hui.
vous voir. Oui, oui.
Radiante. J'espère que la
Ah, ça
santé
va
va
mieux,
mieux.
ça va mieux. Oui, oui. Je me suis bien
Bien.
reposée.
Très
Oui.
bien, très bien.
Oui.
Un
Je
repos
suis-
bien mérité.
Voilà,
Well
je suis
deserved.
comptable maintenant. Je les compte. Hubert, comment vas-tu?
Je vais bien. Je vais bien. Beaucoup de travail ces temps-ci, mais il vaut mieux avoir plus de travail que pas assez.
C'est vrai, c'est vrai.
Margaret, how are you? It's late in Japan, isn't it?
Yes,
Thank you
it's
for being
almost
with us. How are
Thank
you?
What time is it, Margaret?
it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm very sleepy.
So we're waiting for our 2 other keynote speakers, and right after they join us, we're gonna start presentations. And so I'll be the one introducing Kat. I have the honor. And Professeur Londier, est-ce que vous voulez commencer par une introduction et après j'enchaîne avec le programme et je vais
Oui,
faire les
oui,
introductions.
mais
Kat?
nous attendons encore peut-être Lucia
Tout à fait.
et David.
Tout à fait. Je voulais juste proposer, une fois qu'ils seront là, vous allez prendre la parole, bien sûr, j'aimerais bien que vous la preniez dès le départ. Et ensuite, je vais demander à chacun, chacune de dire où ils sont. Comme ça, on annonce tous les pays.
Très bien, très
Ça
bien.
serait une bonne chose, hein?
Good,
Et on commence officiellement.
good idea.
Yes. Alors, Mariana Kat est dans un monastère zen en ce moment. Zazen, oui.
Ah,
Et c'est une retraite
good
silencieuse.
energy for us.
Very good, oui.
You're sending
And I will be-
blessings to all the
I will be
community.
speaking. Thank
Il est
you. They will be sitting
wonderful
meditation in
place.
2 minutes, so I will be silent.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. Great.
Of silent meditations.
Ça va, Wafa?
Ça va, je
Oui,
rame,
le
mais ça
chinois.
va.
Hello, everybody. I'm very
Bonjour,
happy.
Lucia.
Ah, Lucia.
Hello, hello. I'm very
Welcome,
happy to be with you.
welcome.
Ah,
Hi,
Hello, Margaret. Hello,
Hey, how are
everybody.
you?
welcome everyone.
A little stressed, but
Hello,
it's okay.
David.
no,
Welcome.
don't
Everything will
Okay.
be
be
fine,
stressed.
Lucia.
Nice to meet everybody.
Hello.
Good to
Hello,
see you.
David.
Ah,
Hello.
Thank you for being
hello
here.
David.
Professor Kirilla will also come, he promised me.
Hello everyone. So can we officially start?
Yes, I think
Yes.
It's a good idea. Thank you, Wafa. It's a pleasure for me as a General Secretary of CIRET to open this fifth session of our symposium about Sufism, traditional spiritualities, and transdisciplinarity. This session reflects a great diversity because you will notice that we are 7, 3 for organization and 4 speakers from 7 different countries. United States of America, Japan, Morocco, Lebanon, France, and Romania. It cannot be more international. But above all, we have turned to forms of spirituality that are distant from our Occidental view in order to question them about what makes them unique, but also about themes that are common for all humanity. We must listen and hear traditional spiritualities, and not only the Mediterranean spiritualities. I'm sorry for my bad English, but when I went at school, it was more important in France to learn Latin than English, because Latin was supposed to be used once a week, and English only one a year. It's now be changed. So, Kat Janicka will discuss how God be understood as masculine or as feminine in Hebraism, Christianism, and Quran. It's a man, it's masculine, the God. In some civilization, it's a feminine God. And in some worlds, it's a masculine and feminine God. It's very important to consider this. Lucia Muresan will speak of the Christian Orthodox view of God. We can say what God is not, but we cannot say what God is. It's the apophatic theology. And we will go in very far away civilizations from the Occidental one, with Margaret, Hiro, Kimishima, who will take about her immersion in the Mongolian shamanism. It's very, very interesting. And David Bess will also share with us his knowledge of Vodou. It's so very, very interesting. Thank you for Margaret and for David to be here and to say all that with us. Because before giving the floor to Wafa, with certainly a best English than me, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Wafa and to Natalia Abdel Fattah, both of whom are always discreet, but with whom this evening would not have been possible. Thank you very much, Wafa. Thank you very much, Natalia. Sorry. Wafa.
Thank you, Professor Landier. Thank you for your always generous and selfless introduction of your humble co-organizers. Without further ado, I would like to welcome everyone here present, and I would like to start right away by introducing the first keynote speaker, who who is hailing actually from California right now, United States. So allow me to properly introduce Janicka, who will speak about meditation before religion, sacred integration of the divine masculine feminine, and autocosmological fiction-based research study to promote healing. So Janicka, where do I begin? I would like to humbly share how I met personally Kat. It was in an ashram during a yoga training. Katarzyna Janicka is a writer, a PhD candidate in transformative studies at CIIS, based in California, and originally from Silesia. I hope I pronounced it well. I would love to know how it's properly pronounced in Polish. Silesia, Poland. She is a published author of Trip, Prospect Park Stories, and Maya. She is currently completing her book in progress, Before Religion. Her writing explores the intersections of myth, healing, and consciousness through cross-cultural storytelling. Kat is the founder of the non-profit Center of Healing, and it is under the address of @Center of Healing 1111, 4 times 1, which I will share with you in the chat box, established in 2020 to make holistic wellness more accessible. With over 20 years of experience, she teaches Hatha Yoga in the Shivananda tradition and offers meditation training rooted in long-term contemplative practice. Her approach integrates Zen practice and Tibetan Buddhist teachings, bridging embodied discipline with inner inquiry. As an energy healer and Reiki practitioner, she also works with subtle body modalities, including Reiki and quantum energy healing. And it draws from shamanic elements when appropriate. In New York City, she led Tibetan Buddhist meditation and partners with community programs to bring yoga and energy healing into parks, libraries, schools, and of course, shelters. In Europe, she supports initiatives serving Ukrainian refugees through healing-centered and community-based work. Her current academic research focuses on transformation, sacred integration of the divine masculine and feminine, and the role of contemplative and narrative practices in personal and collective healing. Kat is organizing a beautiful retreat in Tuscany this April and May, and another one in Crete, Greece in September. Here it is, so she's showing it on her camera, Tuscany, April and May 2026. I'm already there in my mind. So without further ado, I will give to Janicka the floor, knowing that she is in a monastery that she will explain. So Kat will have to leave us right afterwards. Thank you, Kat, for being here today. You have the floor.
Thank you, Wafa. So nice to meet you all here. I'm very honored. I will be speaking softly as the Zazen meditation is about to start. I just heard the hand in the back. I'm in Big Sur for the Soto Zen retreat. I will start with guiding you into meditation. But before I do that, I just want to make sure that everyone is comfortable with an energy healing session included in the meditation. Last weekend, I spent in Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, and I wanted to integrate some parts of the Akasma quantum energy into this meditation. So if you feel comfortable, just allow. Nothing will happen against your will. So if you are willing, closing your eyes is the most beneficial for the meditation. It will be around 10 minutes. You can turn off your screen. You can stay on the screen, yogi's choice. And after the 10 minutes, I will open my presentation and share more about my PhD work, I am still a candidate. I'm still writing, so I'll explain where I am with my research, how is it building, and where are we meeting in this consciousness with this integration right now. So whenever ready, you can come to meditation. If you're wearing glasses, maybe taking them off. The spine straight, shoulders relaxed. Hands can be facing up for receiving or down for grounding. They can also be placed on the body so you can connect to the breath. Connect to the heartbeat. Take a deep breath to the belly. Long exhale. One more inhale, belly. Open the rib cage. And then release. And now arriving, inhale lower back, middle back, upper back. So we inhale up the spine and pull the energy up. Soften the chest, soften the belly. Tongue is pressing on the upper palate, release the jaw. Pulling the energy up, relaxing the throat chakra. You can take a breath from the throat, envision, use your imagination. And then send the energy up, inhale, up the nose, left and right side. Inhaling to the third eye, the place between the eyebrows, purple flattening. Sending the energy up all the way to the crown, top of the head. You can use your imagination. Envision having an antenna top of the head, opening the crown. It's based above your head, with your eyes closed, envision looking up. Just allow. Let's take a few breaths here. Spine straight, shoulders relaxed. Inhale, belly. Soften the chest, release. Inhale up the spine. Pull the energy up. Just allow. We are connecting. With the next inhale, send the breath down the legs. We're going to connect to the root chakra. Exhaling down the legs. Sole of the feet, root system opening, going deep down to the Mother Earth. You can connect to the root chakra, bottom of the spine. Let's inhale. With the exhale, send the roots deep. Allow your root system connect to the other systems. Just allow. Go deeper. And whenever ready, we will inhale from the roots of the Mother Earth, up the spine. Inhale up. Pull the energy all the way to the crown, top of the head. Realigning. And for the few breaths, allow yourself, the body, just be between the roots going deep to the earth and up to your star self, the idea of the God or goddess that you hold. Allowing the body to be in between, as portal of energy. Inhale is up and exhale is down. Connecting to the center of the chest, your heart. You can envision color green, green as a heart chakra. Inhaling towards the heart, use your imagination. And then back of the heart, the place between the shoulders. Inhale to the back of the heart, the place between the shoulders. The place, if you envision having wings, that's where the wings would start. And if you're comfortable with imagining the wings, you can envision an Isis goddess or the butterfly or bird, dragon, whatever you're working with. So how you have to turn off your sound. Inhale is up. And as you see yourself with your third eye, with those wings open, take more space. Become more of you. Remember who you are. Open more. And now bringing the attention to the breath again, inhaling up the nose, integrating left and right hemisphere, divine feminine, divine masculine within, balancing the waters of the body, softening the facial mask. Relax the muscles around the eyes. Relax the forehead. Relax the forehead. Skin under your hair, your scalp, relax. Softening behind the ears, inside of the ears. And now listen. Tone of my voice, any sounds that are available. Just listen. Beautiful. One more time, inhale, big breath, belly. Send the breath up to the rib cage, open the chest. As you exhale, release the facial mask, tongue pressing on the upper palate, jaw relax. Let's come back to the throat, the place of our authenticity, the way that we connect with each other. Inhale to the throat. In the throat, we hold the energy of things we said and we regret, or things we wish we said. Just give a big breath to the throat, let go, release. Nicely done. And then move back to this breath up the spine, pulling the Kundalini energy up the spine. It's the root, lower back, pull, inhale up, middle back, that place, back of the heart, the wing place, and up towards the shoulders. Spine is straight. With your eyes closed, one more time, look up. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. Any more downloads, integrations, just allow. We will ground one more time. Let's inhale belly. With the exhale, send the roots deep to the Mother Earth. Connect to the center of the Mother Earth. And now we'll exhale what's not longer needed and send it deep to the Mother Earth. So let's inhale together. And exhale what's not longer needed. Release. One more like this. Inhale. Sigh it out. And now for the last time, connecting to the roots of others. There is no other. We inhale one breath together. We inhale from the roots, so we'll remember collectively. Inhale up, opening the roots in sole of the feet, up the toes, your heels, ankles, shins and calves. Inhaling up the knees, thighs and the hips. Big breath towards the hips. Pulling the energy now up the spine for the last time together. Inhaling lower back, middle back, upper back. Send the chin a little higher, like you're looking on the top mountain in front of you. Eyes can be closed. Just a little more clearing in the throat. Inhale here. Nice. Beautiful. Pull the energy up to the crown. With your eyes closed, envision looking up. And one more time, opening the antenna, top of the head, your crown. Beyond. Allow whatever is floating in. We'll close here, envisioning like you're under the waterfall of energy or shower from the top of the head, cleaning and cleansing entire body. The water floating. You are safe. Just allow. And whenever ready, you can bring the palms into the prayer, touch the body, and bow your head down before you look at the screen just to integrate. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you. And now
Thank
I'm
you.
going to share my screen. Thank you. That was an 𝐒𝐲𝐻𝐼 energy healing. I hope you enjoyed it. It's the secret reconnection. I really enjoy working with that energy. It's something I found in 2020. I was already doing Reiki a lot in person and online. And then when COVID hit, I started doing this quantum energy healing, and it's just very powerful and gentle too. It reconnects us. All right, so now I'm shifting gears to my academic mind. And my accent is Polish. I'm from Silesia, which is part of Poland that over the years belonged to Poland, Germany, Czech Republic. I find that looking for roots, it's something that I started a long time ago. I studied my master's degree in Slavic cultures, religion, and literature. So that was my master's degrees. And then I had a long break living in New York, teaching yoga, teaching meditation, doing energy healing. And now I find myself in my 40s in San Francisco doing this work. So by any means, I'm not a scholar yet. So stay with me and please allow as I explain what I am planning to do. I hope I will be finishing this year. I'm writing a novel as a dissertation. It's a fiction-based research. So I create the characters to connect to the myths. And I found the way that we sat by the fires, or our ancestors did, and connect through the story is the best way to tell the story, what happened as we integrate the secret, divine masculine, divine feminine, is through the myth, through the story. So I connect through fiction writing. And autocosmology as a method, it's something that resonated with me through my practice with rinzai in Soto Zen, being one with the cosmos, using this energy of, in Hindu, Brahman and Atman together, connecting with. So for the next 20 minutes, I will show you through slides and tell you more about my work. The first insight about the integration of divine masculine and divine feminine came to me through the practice of spiritual soulmate twin flame alignment. And I was confused with it because I was a Zen practitioner. I thought there was more. And I asked my abbot of my monastery in New York, Daibosatsu Zendo, how to work with it. And she corrected my view to duality and lack of it, and how I could work with the myths of twins as an integration of divine masculine, divine feminine. So I started this research, and on every continent, in every spiritual practice, I found that there is myths and legends of twins, and in every religion there is an idea of this duality. So I moved forward and ask myself a question: how do ancient myths of sacred unions and twin flames illuminate the human longing for spiritual integration? And from this came more, because obviously when beyond gender, it went beyond the idea of the romantic partner of 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭, like Greek myths or Sumerian myths, the connection through the divine with the other. And I dive deeper into what enlightenment could be in one system. And I thought about left and right hemisphere and Jungian work, you probably all know it, that would be pointing to this solar self. What I have here. I want to talk more about how this work can be presented in academia, as I'm still learning. You know, I'm talking to people who are with me on this journey. And I think what was loud for me and was loud for my cohort was the goddess. And that in the patriarchal societies, we were missing that part. And the work that I do and why I'm doing it is to bring healing. And to be able to bring healing to others, I had to bring healing to myself and integrate those parts. So that is the work through meditation, energy healing, automatic writing, a lot of downloads, a lot of work in a library in the Zen monastery upstate New York, where the books were talk to me, open to me, and I would allow them to speak through me as the channel. So this is, if you can see my screen, let me know if everyone can see my screen, okay? Is it big enough? Yep. I want to tell you more about that secret union, because autocosmology and fiction-based research are the terms that I'm using as a student, as a scholar. The sacred union, it's something that we all experience. It's this part of body, mind, and breath connecting through. And I think it's in every system that I came across, pointing into the freedom, the inner freedom. So that secret union, the left and right hemisphere, or the divine masculine, divine feminine, again, it's not about gender energies, solar, lunar energies. That's how I understand sacred union, and that's what I am writing in Before Religion, that I will tell you more about it soon. So what I'm taking from, it's occultist, Taoism, Tantra, Shaivism, from Shiva, Shivaism and Sufism. My work here is to find the places that connect us. And as a Zen practitioner, as a Shivananda yoga instructor, I started finding the lenses they're hoping to open more. And I do compare religions, systems, but it's not that I compare the text and the practice. I compare how we arrived here. So I'm writing the novel Before Religion because I'm having the strong indication that the myths are the same version of the older myths and older myths. So going back to this root, and the only way to do it is through the story. So archaeoastronomy and going to the different places, working with the energy of the pyramids, checking the Peru, Mexico, Egypt, how they all work together. I can do it as a novel. It's way easier if I'm trying to understand all of it, because clearly I cannot. Archetypal astrology, which is one of my favorite subjects, knowing where Jupiter was 40 years ago can affect where I am right now. It's brilliant work, and I'm just learning, and I strongly recommend for you to look into it. And Jungian psychology is one of the most important pillar of my work. I'm not the psychologist. I would say I'm a reader of Jung, and I did Jungian therapy in my 20s and 30s for years. So I work with the dream journal and work with the intuitive way of knowing serendipity and allowing this to guide me through my life. So I travel a lot because I have a lot of threads, and then I'm being pulled someplace else, and I trust it. And here is 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭. So I mentioned 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭 is that in Sumerian and Greek mythology is that way of connecting with God and goddess. So Inanna, for example, I think it's the first myth that 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭 was presented in Sumerian text. She travels to the underworld and she's able to connect with her divine masculine, and through that we experience the fullness, the freedom. Divine double is an idea presented by a professor from Harvard. 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭 is his last name. I can put it later in the chat if you're interested. It's a pretty, I would say the last 5 years is pretty fresh work. It's an idea that we each have divine double in the stars, in the cosmos, in the sky, in the Christian tradition, in the heavens. And then twin flame, it's a new age term, and that some of us, I would say, get introduced by meeting someone in their life. And I think the easiest way to understand twin flame is to think about soulmates, that you're meeting someone in your life and the trajectory of your life is changed, shifted. And it doesn't have to be partner. It's usually an energy that makes you remember why you're here. So those are the key concepts that I explore in the novel. So I already told you about the Jung. Gebster consciousness evolution connects me to that idea of integral self. And Sri Aurobindo Integral Yoga, his thought is behind California Institute of Integral Studies, where I'm a student at. So I think this is more of the theoretical part of my dissertation that I will be probably speaking more next year after I write it, because now I'm still gathering the material. I wrote my proposal, I'm writing a novel, and this is going to be collapsing the ideas from the novel and arriving in something more tangible for the academia. We work with both. We work with this text, which is Divine Feminine. Peter, if you can mute yourself. Thank you. All right, how are we doing on time? Still doing okay?
We're doing great, Kat.
Halfway
Please
through
keep
it.
going. Yes.
So integration, the constructing 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭's and twinship myths. That was a journey. You know, there is a time of my life that I thought I'm going crazy when I was living in the Zen monastery. And all of those shelves of books were collapsing into me and asking to make the threads and connect between one another. And mostly was the idea of the twin and the non-duality, so to speak, and how I can understand it through solar and lunar myths with each religion. So it was a difficult experience for me personally, because there was nothing to hold on to. And I took a pen to my hand. It's mind you, it's winter in New York, I think 2018. Cold, white, we snowed in the monastery. I'm the only woman there. So I'm also cooking. I'm a tenzo in the monastery. And I took the pen and I said, just tell me what is it. Just tell me what is it. And I took the pen, I put it to a paper, and the words came, I am the mother of all the Buddhas. And that was an energy of the Green Tara. At this moment, I practice Tibetan Buddhist through Shantideva Center. I was a teacher there in New York. I knew the lineage, but I was at the Zen monastery that I think, spent a decade in. So it was surprising for me to have this strong Green Tara voice. But I follow, and I wrote down the first sentence and another. And it ended up showing this story, or maybe it calls here storytelling, but I think it integrated the parts of me that I couldn't understand in meditation, and I couldn't understand within the suffering of where I was at that moment. So the Green Tara took me out of my thinking mind and showed me how to tell this story. And I work with secret geometry and the shapes that they were appearing. It felt like they were there in the room with me. Like I could actually see the architecture of the shapes. It was a beautiful experience, but I was grounded from meditation, but I still felt like I went to the underworld myself. And then at some point I found the autocosmological framework, which free me from trying to keep both the divine masculine, divine feminine. I found the insight of connecting myself with the cosmos, and the only way to do it is to understand myself as a part of the cosmos. And that, in the practice of Buddhist no self, with Hindu, looking beyond the Maya, finding that there is this oneness with the cosmos. I had few moments in my life when I was living in Asia, in practicing with forest monks, where I was free from this fear of whatever we are, human condition, death or separateness. So I tapped into it. It never stayed for longer. I always come back to the monastery to regrant. But in those moments, it was a strong call to be doing this work. And later I traveled to Crete, and I will tell you more about it later. But for now, the path is rooted in this journey through whatever came through this library in a New York monastery, which was Zen Sufis and Jungian psychology, in particular the Red Book. When I was 22, now I'm almost 44 in April, when I was 22, so half of the life ago, my mother died. And I was open to the spirit through the death of my mother. And that was this first moment in Catholic in Poland, thinking that maybe I am going crazy because I am understanding spirit a little different than the structured Catholic Church. And my mom died at age 44. I'm going to be 44 this year, as mentioned. So I feel like it's a full circle for me to understand why I chose this karma, this idea of integration after my mom passed, and then the years that followed that threw me all over the world into the ashrams and monasteries. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the most important here is that I'm asking for trust. As I'm writing a novel, I'm asking for trust. And I am bringing the characters to the novel who are guiding the reader through different places of the world, religious systems, and just different way of connecting to the spirit. And I think the most important for me here is to be authentic as I'm writing it. I have 500 pages so far, so it's a big novel that I don't know, and I want reader to be there with me. And I'm not arriving with an answer about integration of divine masculine being the only way of dealing with the spirit, but that's the way that came to me. Yeah, I want to tell you about maybe Yunkaporta here, the way of knowing the indigenous perspective, as this is the conference that we connecting through. I think that remembering who we are and remembering the bonds and the sand and the wind is through the stories and through the myth. And so if you are familiar with the author of Yunkaporta, the way he does it in his writing, collecting to the elders from his villages and working with shapes and geometry and understanding the subtle energies behind it. It's a beautiful work that I'm basing my work on. And then Brian Swim is one of my professors, who is an author of the Autocosmology that I mentioned before. The difference between literary and writerly fiction parts is also very close to my heart. yeah, healing as central contribution to this study. As Wafa mentioned, I run nonprofit Center of Healing, and I work with refugees. I work with the homeless in New York, with the people in the shelters. I don't necessarily have an idea how this nonprofit will move after this dissertation, but I'm seeing myself doing more and more retreats where I integrate when I work with this idea of integration. So the next retreat is in Italy and in Tuscany, and then the Goddess retreat will be coming back to Crete in September to do more of the secret work with the land.
Sorry to interrupt, Kat. You have 5 more minutes if you want, and if you have time for comments and questions. If you don't have time for that, you can go on for 6-7 minutes maximum. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me just click through here. I just want to show you the twins, the couples that are working. So let's say that one of the stories in my writing is Dimitri. It's story of she's not here. Let me just say that there is a lot of, because I don't have enough time to go into it, there's a lot of myth stories that I'm mapping, mirroring, and they talking to each other. And that's really intriguing for me, that it's possible that those stories are so connected. Okay, and then I think I told you about Crete. I'm going to be ending here because I know there's not enough time to say things. I really thought that I have it in 20 minutes, but I guess it's a half an hour work. I am really grateful that you took this time and look at my work with me. I do know that my novel will be speaking by itself, and it will surprise me as well. So I would love to share it with you when I'm finished. And I think this is it. I'm gonna ask for questions and open any discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kat. You still have another minute or two, but if you decided to wrap up, then the floor is open for comments, questions, anyone who would like to ask Kat a question, or anyone who has a comment, perhaps. So Kat, you can stop sharing your screen if you want, so we can see your beautiful face and we can see each other, if that's convenient for you as well. Okay. So we have a very good 10 minutes before Margaret's presentation, so feel free if you have any insights, comments, questions, congratulations. I congratulate you, Kat, for your presentation and also for your projects. Okay.
Thank you, Bert.
So I see there are no questions, no comments yet.
So maybe I add one more thing, if there is no comment. The book is called Before Religion. And I think that this is, at this moment of my practice, this is something that opens a lot of ways of talking about it, what we experienced before religion, and if the conversation like that as a novel is interesting for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I have a comment. I found your presentation so interesting that I think I need to see it again after the recording, and we maybe need you for a part 2 sometime in autumn. I know Professor Landier, we are in discussion for this, if you are available at all. And I want to thank you for your meditation, and you guided the meditation so gracefully. And for those of us who just joined us, do you have any questions for Kat, who is currently in a monastery, and she's joining us from California? Because the floor is yours right now. Professeur Landier, est-ce que vous essayez de parler en ce moment? Ou non? Tout est correct? On ne vous entend pas, votre microphone est fermé.
Je vais parler en français en vous laissant le soin de traduire, ce qui sera peut-être beaucoup plus clair.
J'essaierai.
J'observe que les dieux occidentaux sont des dieux masculins et que l'Occident a introduit à travers le monde beaucoup de violence. Et la réintroduction de la dimension féminine dans la conception que nous avons de la divinité était extrêmement importante pour l'avenir du monde.
Je vais essayer de traduire, même si Kat connaît aussi le français. Hein? So, Kat, do you need my translation at all? Or you're good? You understood him? Your mic is closed, Kat.
Of course, please. Just so I'm sure that I understood correct.
Okay, so I'll try my best. So Professor Landier was saying that the gods of the West are mostly masculine, and that involves a certain level of violence. And the reintroduction of the divine feminine, or feminine gods, if I translate it correctly, is bringing a kind of balance. C'est ça, Professeur Landier, vous aviez utilisé le mot?
Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wafa.
Thank you. Yes. So, without further ado, I want to thank Janicka personally and in the name of CIRET and in the name of my fellow co-organizers, Professor Hubert Landier and Professor Natalia Abdel-Fattah, for accepting our invitation to be here with us, despite the fact that she is right now in a silent retreat meditation, if I'm correct, and for her generous and beautiful presence that will keep on shining through today, as I think she has to leave us. Is that correct, Kat? We think we spoke about it? Yes. So Kat has to unfortunately leave us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. And again, she has a beautiful retreat in April and May in Tuscany, Italy, another one in Crete, Greece in September. And I did send in the chat the flyer of her retreat, so you'll find it in the chat. Thank you so much. How do we say thank you, Kat, in Polish?
Dziękuję.
Okay, one more time.
Dziękuję.
Dziękuję.
And I want to say, because it's so funny, I want to say my name. It's Katarzyna.
Katarzyna. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's music to my ears.
Thank you.
Katarzyna. Okay.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to listen to all of the presentation after the silent retreat. I'm so glad that you invited me.
We thank you, Kat, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alors, Professor Landier. So, Professor Landier, would you like to take the floor to introduce Dr. Lucia Muresan, who is next?
Wafa, je vous laisse introduire Margaret.
Oui, on a Margaret, of course. Ok, merci, professeur. Margaret Hiro Kimishima. Alors, anglais, so English. Margaret Hiro Kimishima is hailing from Japan and is so generous with her time. It is currently, if I'm not mistaken, almost 3 a.m. in Japan. Margaret Hiro Kimishima is the president of the International Center of Transdisciplinary Research, Japan. She also serves as the regional managing director for Asia, Africa, and Europe at the 𝐒𝐬𝐢𝐫, I hope I pronounce it correctly, 𝐒𝐬𝐢𝐫 Cultural Center of Ancestral Wisdom, and is the Japan representative for 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐿 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐿 in Mongolia. An expert, educator, and researcher in holistic energy medicine, intuition, and spirituality, Kimishima holds an MA in English literature and writing from Hollins University, and also an MFA in writing with Sarah Lawrence College and a certificate in advanced study of the United Nations. Margaret was rewarded the Margaret Smith Award for Best Short Fiction by Hollins University. Having studied with Dr. Christine Page and other notable figures in holistic medicine, Kimishima developed the energy medicine modality, known as 𝐒𝐓𝐳𝐿𝐼𝐧𝐝𝐢𝐬. She is currently collaborating with the National Institute of Informatics, NII, in Japan to integrate their expertise to advance research and initiatives that promote personal development, emotional resilience, and overall well-being. Kimishima is also a published author of articles in 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭, Atlas, and IGI Global. You will find in the chat some very reliable resources. So Margaret Hiro Kimishima is today speaking to us about, I think you have in the chat just in case you are not certain, she's speaking about Mongolian shamanism in the age of wind, from fear-based shamanism and joy-based shamanism. Thank you so much for being here among us, Margaret Hiro Kimishima. You have the mic and the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for, oh, can you see? Okay. Let me,
We can see and we can hear you. We can see your presentation.
thank you. If something is wrong with my, oops, something wrong with my notes.
Margaret, if you would like to have my assistance, let me know.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you want to scroll up to the first slide, which was actually at the beginning. So you were doing fine at the beginning. We were seeing the first slide. Whatever works for you, I am here, okay? In case you need me. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can you see my slides okay now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Sorry for my sleepy eyes. It's almost 3 o'clock in Japan, so if I make any mistake during my presentation, I could have some excuse to make, I guess. Anyway, thank you for all CIRET members for giving me this opportunity to speak at today's event. And thank you for those joining us today. Especially let me express my gratitude to Professor Hubert, Wafa, and Natalia to organize such a wonderful event. And I sincerely thank you all. As Wafa just told you, I'm Margaret Hiro Kimishima, the chairperson and researcher of International Transdisciplinary Research Japan, where we honorably have a partnership with CIRET. I'm also a modern energy medicine specialist working for various athletes like Olympians, artists, body workers, physicians, performers in Japan. Because this background, I was invited to Mongolia in summer 2025 to represent Japan to participate in the World Shaman Conference in Mongolia. Though I'm not an indigenous shaman in the strict sense, here today, let me share my thought about Mongolian shamanism as a modern shaman from Japan. The image of a Mongolian shaman is a sorcerer who looks like a beast or wicked god. In the forest of the Siberian taiga, there were animals far and dance wildly, beating a large circular drum that is made of leather. They become entranced and travel to an unknown invisible world where they gain vision to share with people. There are multiple key factors showing the characteristics of Mongolian shamans. As I noted earlier, I'm not a traditional shaman. Rather, I have studied modern spirituality, drawing on various energy theories and energy medicine and intuitive healer and channel. A common thread with Mongolian shamanism is the role of harmonics in guiding patients toward outer states of consciousness. Yet these are different. Modern spiritual practice aims to heal through positive means, whereas Mongolian traditional shamanic healing is often framed in fear-based terms. Mongolian shamanism tends to revitalize them by controlling them through the spirits of angry ancestors. Moving forward, there may be a need for spirituality that fosters individuals' autonomy and independence. Indeed, Japanese anthropologist Makio Kawata argued that sorcery or magic is a system of practices and beliefs intended to influence supernatural beings, gods, spirits, or other mystical powers in order to fulfill desires or bring about specific phenomena. It is also called charms, witchcraft, and refers to spells performed for purposes such as curing illnesses, securing plentiful harvests, or bringing misfortune to a particular person. In Mongolian shamanism, it's said that spiritual awakening begins from misfortune. Misfortune is something the Mongolian people believe when its difficulty and disasters lead people to recognize spiritual problems, which marks the beginning of shamanic rituals. Through rituals, shamans aim to resolve spiritual issues and provide comfort and guidance to people. The ideas are deeply rooted in people's way of life and religious perspectives, influencing societies as a whole. Since the Soviet Union collapsed, their personified spirits have been helping oppressed people reshape their identities through shamanism. In Mongolian shamanism, two main types of shamans guide local communities: black shamans, who act as channels, and white shamans, who are regarded as chiropractors. In addition, there's a legendary blacksmith who is believed to possess special powers, forging magical wands for the shamans. These smiths are often said to specialize in helping people who are experiencing financial hardships. When capitalism has cranked up the competition in Mongolia, a lot of people are breaking down mentally and physically, and black shamans are said to heal the mind, while white shamans heal the body. When doctors can help people often go to those local shamans. Mongolians believe these meetings are arranged by their ancestors, whom they call Ogu. In short, they see it as a time of transformation or rituals. Mongolian shamans believe it is their ancestors who make people sick or injured, urging them to become shamans to heal their past trauma or karmas. The word shaman comes from the 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭, since its appearance in European discourse in the 16th century. Shamans have been seen as distinctive religious figures associated with Siberia and Central Asia, including Mongolia. Lucia 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭 argues that shamans are a universal type of religious practitioner. Since Eliade's time, the term shaman and its Russian variant, shaman, has entered English. The word shaman has become standard. Although rooted in Siberia, the concept is now used globally as an analytical category for religious practitioners across the world, including North, Central, and South America and Southeast Asia. In ancient times, Siberian hunter-gatherers survived by killing and eating animals. They believed that taking life from animals carried illness or death for themselves. Those who could negotiate with animal spirits to source secure hunts or ease illness were shamans. Shamans were traditionally pictured sorry.
We can see the pictures, Margaret. You can
Yeah.
keep going with the text. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, in ancient shamans were traditionally pictured in forest spirit attire. Today, many appear in human form. There are said to be two types of shamans, soul extraction and spirit possession. But here I use shaman to mean individuals who directly interact with supernatural beings. By Mongolian shamans, I mean those from the Buryat minority around Lake Baikal. In the 1930s Great Purge, many were imprisoned or persecuted under Soviet authorities. Ipei Shimamura, a Japanese anthropologist, notes that approximately 1% of Mongolia's population has become shamans. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the Mongolian government promoted shamanism by publishing a national magazine on the subject and broadcasting a prime-time TV program about shamans. Some observers view this as nationalist propaganda in Mongolia. In Mongolian shamanism, people commonly believe the misfortune results from spirit's guidance. A patient's life is attributed to their ancestors. Shamans figure out what caused the illness, accident, disaster, and heal people through rituals and talking with spirits. Many patients suffer from incurable physical or mental illnesses and feel abandoned by Western doctors. In shamans' view, these patients may be chosen to become shamans themselves. And by becoming a shaman, patients gain respect from their families and those around them, and they start to regain their physical and mental balance. Ogu, the ancestor of origins, plays a big role. Shamans sometimes stir up hidden fears in brave patients by channeling their ancestors, who they call Ogu. They explore illness through divination by becoming possessed by spirits called Ongo. At the moment, it's decided the patient should become a shaman. Initiation is guided a master shaman and the divination prescribes. Ogu also symbolizes bloodline. In recent years, shamans wear masks that depict a widow who drowned herself and an elderly woman who was abandoned by her family. There isn't a joyful image on these masks, just symbols of spirit, resentment, anger, and sadness. And these masks represent the boundary between the current self and the self they wish to become. During the socialist era, Buryats faced ethnic, cultural, and political oppression. Under Stalinist rule, many men were arrested and executed as counter-revolutionists and spies. Buryat women who lost their partners were forced or pressured to marry outsiders, Russians, Chinese, or members of the Kaluka, the largest Mongolian group. Because of the traditional patriarchal norms, having a non-Buryat father could sever them from being considered Buryat. Consequently, their masks reflect the spirit resentment, anger, and sadness. In other words, they were the emotions that patients have hidden deep inside before they become ill. The collapse of socialism in Mongolia disrupted the social order. State-owned enterprises are privatized quickly, leading to mismanagement and rising unemployment. Shamanists can act as cultural tool for finding roots. People sometimes just shape their identity by tracing their ancestry. Ironically, those most in need of belonging are often the ones whose roots have been cut off. People lose a sense of social belonging and face an identity crisis on an individual level. Shamans help them reroot themselves. They heal the Bryat of Mongolia by rebuilding roots in response to identify crises and letting angry ancestors remind them of who they really are. People tell the shamans, "We've forgotten our Bryat custom during socialism. Oh, spirits, make the unknown known and help us see what we don't perceive." Rituals mark transition in life, bringing change to individuals and communities. Sorcery is often about creating the desired state with help from supernatural beings. In Mongolia's socialist era, people burned their family trees so no one could trace their lineage. Meeting shamans became a way to discover who they are through their ancestors. Ritual evoke emotions like anger and resentment, exposing deep fears and pushing people to change. Shamans channel the ancestor who caused the illness or injury. They might even threaten death if you are not dressed in traditional Mongolian outfits. If someone can sing ancient folk songs or speak the old language, that spirit may push them to learn. Fear is a basic driver of seeking security. In modern spirituality, however, from birth to around 7, children are said to learn whether they belong in a safe environment. A physician and energy medicine pioneer, Christian Page, argues that one of the biggest fears for any individual is not belonging, being rejected. Belonging and security should line up what a person needs. When people don't feel they belong, what do? In Mongolia, rituals pass down tradition and values, strengthening bonds across generations. Participation in rituals gives a sense of security and meaning. Real security doesn't come from possessions. It comes from knowing who you are, regardless of appearance. Page notes there may be little you can change about yourselves, as you should treasure each moment. Fear shapes how we act, what we believe, and the choices we make. Sometimes that means becoming a shaman. Shaman tells patients to become a shaman by guiding them towards the path. Initiation is a turning point. Most of our minds are influenced by subconscious, which acts like an opening system shaping our habits, emotions, and beliefs. Dr. Joe Dispenza suggests that because we are made of atoms and molecules or energies, we can change our energy to shift our beliefs by changing the frequency of those particles. And rituals serve as a device to make such frequential changes. Music or tune or basic element of sounds carries frequencies that can bring happiness or sadness. Shamans' chants have a powerful healing potential. Tune on sound can improve patients' health, mood, and overall situations. Through this process, their bodies adjust, mental issues often ease, and life can shift. Besides purification, rituals called ogalaga, shamans perform uriolgi to blow breath. After reciting a spell, they blow breath onto the affected area. In Mongolian, life is ami. Amigasa means breath, and it is understood as a true gift of life. When fear surfaces, people's brain default to patterns shaped by past experience. Fear can trigger more fear, releasing chemicals that intensify the feelings. After a spirit urges someone to become shaman, the patient decides to go through the initiation. The process can place them in a theta state where universal energy merges with them. Ancient music or shamanic sound can transport them to a quantum state, sparking profound transformation and sense of security. Page argues that the most receptive state for heart-to-heart communication often happens in the dream state, and shaman can guide the patient into the states they might never experience in ordinary lives. Yet, once they become shamans, an ego dream hierarchy emerges that persists from generation to generations. It remains doubtful whether true security and belonging have been established for them. As AI develops, fear-based guidance will not be what we need to be planted.
Yes, sir.
We should stay confident and in control of our own minds and take care of ourselves. To protect our sovereignty, we must discern which information sources are trustworthy. For a long time, it seems that traditional spirituality has hindered the encouragement of clients' independent actions. Data scientist Maria Sato argues the intentional action that determine 40% of happiness involve being kind to others, cultivating relationships with family and friends, staying physically active, expressing gratitude. These actions consider international and habitual behavior that align with one's values. While organizing the external environment, such as their living space, job, and partner, can contribute to happiness, it's even more important to engage in habitual and proactive action that enrich yourself. These actions have a significant impact on long-term sustainable happiness. In order to take proactive actions, it is essential to clarify one's true feelings and values. However, it seems the traditional spirituality has failed to make the patient's own decisions. Sato argues that our ancestor, Homo sapiens, emerged a long time ago and spent most of that time as hunter-gatherers. During the hunter-gatherer era, focusing on single tasks could be life-threatening. So diversifying attention becomes survival strategies. Additionally, survival depended on living in groups, which meant that they had to be mindful of how they were perceived by those around them. It can be said Mongolian shamans who have inherited ancient shamanic practices may find that the crisis detection sensors that were beneficial during the hunter-gatherer era are not optimized for modern individuals. As stated before, many people became healed by shamans and who are trying to control them in Mongolia. In the upcoming AI era, it is said the remaining job for humans will be making decisions and taking responsibility. It's undeniable that individuals who can raise their hands and say, I will take responsibility, are more likely to build a competitive edge in their careers. Sato argues living proactively and accepting that suffering is necessary in life is also important. For human growth, the repetition of stress and recovery is essential. By intentionally applying a load that feels about 20% to 30% more stressful than your current state, and then recovering from it, individuals can grow and live happily. Facing life's challenges head-on and applying pressure aligned with one's values is indeed the way to make the fleeting moments of life truly one's own. Modern spirituality isn't about depending on shamans or spiritual leaders. Page argues that people should cultivate self-worth and recognize who they are. In the AI era, we must remain in change of our own mind and think for ourselves. Highly evolved spiritual beings respect our personal sovereignty and never coerce, flatter, or judge our actions. Thus, we are currently creating portal cycle global 𝐈𝐧𝐼𝐸 network. The participants are indigenous people who are not prominent researchers from around the world. By learning ancient knowledge of those 𝐈𝐧𝐼𝐸s, we are going to share up-to-date intuitive information and research in spirituality. We are planning to discuss as researchers and spiritual experts how we guide people without the ego-minded or the fear-minded in the era of AI or in the era of wind. Thank you. And that's what I do, working with my spirits. Spirits walk into my client's body and they heal her or him.
Bravo. Thank you, Margaret, Hiro, Kimishima.
Thank you very much, Margaret.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bravo.
Thank you so much.
Bravo. Margaret, if you want, feel free to exit sharing the screen unless you want to show us a particular slide. Yes, feel free. Yes, may I offer... Yeah, may I offer a first very brief comment before I give the floor to our fellow attendees and keynote speakers? So my comment is this was an eye-opening presentation and experience from an outsider like myself who doesn't know much about shamanism, and it just echoed also the call to do something about AI. And I love the final message, if I may highlight just a line that says that we need to respect the sovereignty of every awakened spiritual being and resist any attempt to flatter, if I remember very well, the last line, flatter, judge in our own sovereign spirituality. I love that part. Thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from our fellow attendees? And yes, we have David Beth. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I enjoyed this presentation because I am also very interested in shamanism across cultures as well. And I remember, since you're from Japan, I remember reading a fascinating book on Japanese shamanic practices. I think it was called the Catalpa Bow. That was the name of the book. Don't know if you're familiar with that. This is quite good. Don't know exactly anymore all the details of it, but I was wondering whether you could tell us a little bit about marked differences or not between shamanic practices in Japan and Mongolia, whether they are cross-influenced each other or so. Don't know if you know anything about that.
I think Japanese shamanism also fear-based. Yeah, shamans often, like a Mongolian shamans, Japanese shamans often deal with ancestors who threaten their child or families, saying that you must do this and that, otherwise you're gonna get killed or you're gonna get unfortunate, and after all you must change your must change your life, or you must change your jobs, and I'm not so, for instance, Ainu, and they are so similar to Mongolian shamans, and they deal with entities who are coming from nature, like wolves and woods, or other other gods like figures. and they worship them. They are always scared of them. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
So much. Anybody else? Any other comment, question, impression, insight? They're all welcome for Margaret, Hiro, Kimishima's wonderful presentation today. Margaret, I had a quick question for you.
Yeah.
And it was, I took a note earlier at the beginning. I didn't know that the traditional Buryat kinship system was primarily patrilineal.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. And specifically when you mentioned how they grieved using symbolism such as the widow, for example, I thought right away, oh, this must be somewhat matrilineal. So I learned so much today. Do you have something that you would like to add to my knowledge about this part?
Well, as I said, half of a breed male got killed during the war. And that's why there are lots of women left grieving, and they had to adopt a lot of kids from China or Russia or other countries, and they are now pure Buryat descendants anymore. And that's a very sad part. And they try to recreate their bloodline one more time by becoming shamans and to gain their powers again.
Yes, I saw and I noticed a revival. I followed a documentary on National Geographic that followed a woman who's bringing back archery into Mongolia. Yes, and I tried to connect it with shamanism. There is a revival, so there's a healthy comeback of the essence of their identity, if I may say it this way, and it brings a lot of hope for me, at least for me.
Women can get more power being shamans,
Yes.
In such a society, because it's more like a male-dominated country. So
I didn't know.
Thank
you. Yeah, I didn't know about that. But it's fascinating. Nevertheless, it's fascinating, and I hope it's going to be part of my travels someday. I like to dream. With you, perhaps. Any other questions, comments for Margaret, Hiro, Kimishima? We do have a good 10 minutes before Dr. Lucia Muresan's presentation. But of course, we can start earlier. How about that? Professeur Landian, on peut commencer plus tôt?
Oui, bien sûr.
Le Dr. Muresan était prévu dans 10 minutes, mais on peut commencer plus tôt?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Margaret. It was really fascinating.
Thank you. Thank you.
You must write something about Mongolian shamanism.
Yes,
you must.
I will. Yeah, I will. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Professeur, aimeriez-vous que je fasse les introductions pour Dr. Lucia Muresan ou aimeriez-vous le
Je vous laisse faire. Je vous laisse
Très
faire.
bien. Merci pour votre générosité. So, without further ado, we're gonna introduce, I hope properly introduce Dr. Lucia Muresan, who is with us today. And her title is Involving Apophatism in Systems, Healing, Regeneration, the Potential of Eastern Mystical Theology to Contribute to World Culture and Civilization through Transdisciplinarity. Dr. Lucia Muresan is a member of the Scientific Council of the Laboratoire Scientifique de Recherches Transdisciplinaires, 𝐈𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐬, President and founding member of the International Center for Transdisciplinary Integrative Applications and Research, 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭, which I will send you a website, which is 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢, as in Europe. Founder of Club TD, a space for experiential learning of transdisciplinarity for different multidisciplinary systems. I will also send you a website in the chat. Conceptor of ternary epistemology developed starting from her doctoral thesis and grounded in over 35 years of continuous multi- and transdisciplinary research. The model is based on transdisciplinarity, complexity, and integral linguistics. Interested in holomeric medicine and health, from personal to planetary health, which represents an integrative dynamic modality of enacting creativity in action, language, consciousness at the personal, transpersonal level. This represents a model of healing congruent with both traditional and contemporary doctrines of human development, elaborated in order to overcome the inadvertences associated with the term holistic, a term not accepted within either transdisciplinarity or complexity. A medical doctor, interdisciplinary master's degree in philosophy, linguistics, and also a PhD in philosophy, transdisciplinarity, supervised by no other than Professor Basarab Nicolescu. She has delivered courses at university level and within public administration, and has created an online space for introductory courses on transdisciplinarity, principles for teachers. She conceived and delivered the first course internationally on the implementation of transdisciplinarity in public institutions, 2014. She is currently working to gather her articles published in Romanian language into a volume entitled Ternary Epistemology, TDICX Modeling of Systems, which she also intends to publish in English in order to involve the proposed concept in the international circuit. A central aim is the implementation of courses in transdisciplinarity epistemology within universities across all types of faculties at undergraduate, master's, and doctoral levels. In parallel, she is envisaging in French, large-scale transsystemic programs for the implementation of transdisciplinarity and the transdisciplinarity re-instrumentation of governance structures through transdisciplinarity epistemology. Without further ado, I am very honored today to give the floor to Dr. Lucia Muresan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your words. And I just want to point that all this research was a personal one, not a careeristic one, like probably the others. Can I share the?
Yes, please. Perfect. We can see your screen.
Okay, just a little. So I thank you very much for the invitation. It is certainly impossible to capture the whole subject in a 30-minute presentation, but I would aspire to outline it. I consider this presentation a teaser, a trailer of the volume which I intend to publish within the next 6 months. The title is Involving Apophatism in System Healing Regeneration. Can you hear me?
Yes,
You
can.
can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All good.
The potential of Eastern mystical theology to contribute to world culture and civilization through transdisciplinarity. I will follow the guidance of Professor Hubert, who emphasized the need to bring spirituality into the present, into contemporary relevance, not merely to remain within traditional spirituality. And therefore, the presentation explores how apophatism can serve as a living force in the regeneration of the human condition today. I consider apophatism, more precisely the apophatic-ataphatic relationship, as being the first conceptual disposition appeared in the culture, because the concept must irreducibly contain dynamicity, which is, in my opinion, the first requirement of a concept, of a universal model. I found only in apophatic disposition of reason, and then in 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢, the author of Integral Linguistics, the real amplitude of what I consider the concept has to be, while fully respecting the TD requirements, which is the third construct that respects what the concept should be, in my opinion, in my view. The presentation, in brief, shifts the emphasis from technologies to epistemology as gravity center of the discussion. I consider that the real tension of our era is epistemological, not technological, because epistemology is the only one that can answer to the question what we do with technologies in front of the human being. The opposite is not possible. Technology by itself does not answer any question. Neither biology nor theology nor mathematics or another discipline could answer. Only a science, a new kind of science raised to the transdisciplinary amplitude, has the fundamental answer for the era in which we have entered. And this is epistemology. In my view, TD epistemology holds the coordinates of the new science. The presentation stage will be as follows. What is apophatism? The current role of apophatism, the relationship between apophatism and conceptuality, the concept between etymology and epistemology, the distinction between model and theory, the holomeric model of system regeneration. What is a system? The implication of apophatism conceptuality, TD epistemology, in the process of recovery from current crisis. This point will be addressed, but the exposition will be more circular with the reiteration of the ideas. Please stop me and I will move directly to the conclusions if I exceed the time.
All good. I will be reminding you 5 minutes before the ending.
Okay. I have a question. Do you see my notes too, or only the...
I see presentation stages and number 1 all the way to 5. So
Okay.
that is what is apophatism all the way to 5. I think we see it all.
Okay, concerning what apophatism is, I will limit the presentation to 3 important authors due to limited time. Dionysius the Pseudo-Areopagite presented himself as the Athenian disciple of St. Paul, thus placing his writings as originating in the foundational revelatory experience of Christianity. He is considered the central foundation figure of apophatic theology. Vladimir Lossky represents an authentic bridge between East and West, while also offering a critical reflection on certain developments within scholastic theology, where mystery becomes intellectually systematized. Dumitru Staniloae is a Romanian theologian, considered by some authors the most important Orthodox theologian of the 20th century. He develops a systematic apophatic theology. Dionysius points the fact that God is immanent and transcendent in the same time. He distinguished 2 possible theological paths, affirmative, cataphatic, or positive way theology, which conduct us to a certain knowledge of God, and the negative, apophatic way theology, which is the way of total unknowing ignorance. Through unknowing ignorance, we come to know the one who is beyond all possible object of knowledge. But this is the simplistic binary interpretation of Areopagitics and of spirituality in general. In reality, the mysticism of Dionysus is far deeper. Many approaches are reduced to a simple denial of what is, in the belief that this brings one closer to God. Yet, here lies the trap of binary thinking, a trap into which none of the authors mentioned fall, and neither does orthodoxy. This makes it very difficult to grasp from the perspective of modern Western thought, since it refuses to ground itself in intellectual binary terms, which marked modernity. Through apophatism towards a ternary theognosia, we can anticipate. Within modernity, the binary approach is a matrix of thought that is difficult to escape from, because there is no exit term structure. There is a lot of endlessly difficult transgressive literature marked by the striving to go beyond binarity. Transdisciplinarity of Basarab Nicolescu, through included third, confers this methodological but also conceptually circumscribed structured openness. There is a ternary structuring. Theognosia, the living knowledge of God, is in fact, according to the author of the Areopagitic writings, above any opposition between affirmation and negation. So we can say we have here a ternary structuring. Apophatic theognosia, which forms the fundamental character not only of the thought of Dionysius, but also of orthodoxy, does not mean a closure of the soul to knowledge, but an opening to the living experience of the divine, considering that this implies even the overcoming of dialectics, affirmation, negation, possible in prayer and through the apophatic, cataphatic continual right ordering of the soul. Dionysius shows that one must approach God through prayer in order to gradually participate in the knowledge of Him. Thus, the one who prays also participates in knowledge. So we could have here, through transdisciplinarity, not only apophatic but ternary theognosia. As observation, theognosia means knowledge through participation, involving continuous transformation, towards which we may advance to some extent through apophatism, but within the dynamics of apophatism, cataphatism, which must ultimately be abandoned, transgressed, in order to ternary sustain, in a ternary manner, the development of human movement toward divinity. The idea that apophasis fulfills its meaning only together with cataphasis is implicit in Areopagite, becomes more explicit in Losky, and in Staniloae takes the form of an articulated and integrative theological thesis. But this ternary tension and development is present in each of the authors, tension which has, over time, generated the idea of formulating a third type of discourse, a synthesis meant to go beyond apophatic and cataphatic discourse. Yet, beyond affirmation and negation, there does not emerge a new type of discourse, but a transition from discourse to communion and participation, Trinitarian perihoretic model. I will explain in article all these terms. We have to point some etymologies. Why mystic theology of Eastern Church? Theology means from theos, God, logos, word, the rational articulation of the discourse about God. And mysticism is the participatory experience of the mystery beyond the five senses, transcending the level of perception of the five senses. And here we have a working congruence with transdisciplinarity. We have to transcend the level of reality reported to the five senses in order to enter the other levels that respond to mysticism. And this is a full TD requirement. I note this because transdisciplinarity could give us the real ternary term that we need when we have an apparent tension here between theology and mysticism. As note, we must continually appeal to etymologies because epistemology recovers the meaning from etymologies. The lost sense of etymologies in a world that gradually desemantizes. As I presented last year to the International Congress in 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭 Linguistics, and I marked then that the distance between etymology and epistemology is the concept itself. I think it's Losky. Apophatism is the basic feature of the entire theological tradition of the Church of the East, says Losky. Apophatism is not a theology of ecstasy. It is a disposition of the mind, a fundamental attitude that refuses any purely intellectual abstract, which would like to adapt the mysteries of divine wisdom to the limits of human thinking. The way of knowing God and of Eastern mystical theology is the way of union with God, of deification. Cataphatism, the theology of the divine names, refers to the theophanic expression of the apophatic contemplation of God. There is a gradual development of cataphatic understandings as apophatic knowledge advances. Apophatism opens, on each stage of positive theology, unlimited horizons of contemplations. I emphasize the idea that apophatism is the fundamental feature of the entire theological tradition of the Church, Spirituality of the East. All the more so since it seems to be a taboo subject. It is hardly spoken about, neither in the East nor in the West. and in any case, it is not a current, widely recognized discussion. Apophatism is the Bahari talent of the East, not only of Christianity, but of culture and civilization in general, being the irreducible dimension of the East, which has to be expressed from the part to the whole, for the entirety of culture civilization. It has to be reborn, to be present as other spiritualities. In my opinion and research, Apophatism can currently serve as a basis for regeneration for the entire culture and civilization, in terms of the proposal of the part that continuously regenerates and develops the whole. See holomer etymology, I will say. Because beyond the theological discourse, the apophatic-cataphatic dynamic is an irreducible epistemological element. In particular, the dogmas of the Church are cataphatic, formulated and presented themselves in the form of antinomies, of paradoxes, precisely for the purpose to preserve apophatism, eluding simple logical thinking. Again, this is a moment when transdisciplinary enters the scene, traversing the paradox in a ternary structured way. I have noted here some important etymologies, and I'll go to the last one. But let us say both apophatism and cataphatism are ascending movements. Cataphasis ascends through determination, apophasis ascends through surpassing determination. Holomir is a term created by the Romanian philosopher Constantin Noica by composing holos, which means whole, with meros, which means part. Holomir expressed the living unity between part and whole, overcoming their opposition and indicating a structure of co-belonging, co-generation, co-creativity for human. So each part actively embodies and expresses the whole. As note, the term holistic is insufficient, a fact also pointed out by Basara Nicolescu and Edgar Morin. It emphasized the primacy of the whole over its parts. It is an inverted reductionism. Instead of reducing reality to parts, it reduces reality to the whole. In my opinion, we are responsible for the word we choose, because we live, each of us live inside the discourse with which we promote, articulate, and through words, language, we are responsible for our entire life, including health, both for ourselves and for the others, because alterity is constitutive for language. The language possesses alterity. For Dumitru Stăniloae, apophatism is not a simple theology of negation. God cannot be comprehended logically. Apophatic knowledge is experiential, theophanic, and linked to grace and spiritual life for Eastern mysticism, not to an abstract suspension of thought. The knowledge of God continually retains a paradoxical character in Eastern mysticism. As one rises in his knowledge, one rises in the understanding of his incomprehensible mystery. In this lies the true knowledge of the one being sought, knowing through unknowing. He sees apophatism as direct experience of the mysterious divine presences, and cataphatism as rational yet nevertheless necessary for the expression and transmission of truth and communion, and also to serve for a new apophatic moment. So Stăniloae insists on the complementarity between apophatism and cataphatism, on the dynamicity of that this complementarity creates, and on the fact that negative terms are just as insufficient as affirmative ones. A mutual corroboration must always take place between them. At the foundation of this corroboration lies an experience that surpasses both the affirmative terms and their negations. As the observation, I emphasize here the importance of differentiating terms which are etymologically confused. In order to advance in research, huge confusions, including in academia, are made between concept and theory, model and theory, logic and reason, system, paradigm, epistemology. These terms are defined neither multidisciplinarily nor transdisciplinarily. I know that the integralist transdisciplinary complex epistemological model, general epistemology, as I named it, that I conceived a proposed conceptual definition for each of them. For example, concerning the Confucian logic reason. Logic comes from the Greek logos and means word, order. Logic is the art, science of the correct organization of thought discourse. We can say that we talk about linearity or step-by-step organization. In Latin, ratio originally means ratio, relation, proportion. And from this derives the later idea.
Assets, or we might be promoting something on social media.
An idea of calculation and judgment, and then the confusion with simple logic. The root indicates the idea of measure as proportionality, placing things in adequate relation to one another. So through reason, we think in proportions. We relate to the whole, not just to the next step, as in logic. And this reference to the whole is always verified and adjusted continuously through consciousness. Consciousness coming from the Latin conscientia, in Latin means simply to know together. In my own definition, from the perspective of ternary epistemology, consciousness is the self-consistent, universal, coherent human function that permanently presents the whole coherence to the human being, thus proposing the correction of his or her activity in reality through logical decisions and rational perspective in accordance with universal real coherence. Things are complex, but here I can present a first outline. As note, the circular schema diagram derives from a prototype I developed on the occasion of my dissertation in 1997. I would like to only say now that I widely use this prototype in ternary thinking. The entire ternary framework can be placed within this prototype. And
Dr.
here
Lucia,
yes.
you have 10 minutes. You're good. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
Thank you too. Thank you too. And here I would like to present on short the differences between model and theory, with a mention that this is not a methodological distinction, but an epistemological shift. While the model is integralist, integrative, the theory is fragmentarist, disjunctive. The model is ternary, theory is binary. The model models, the theory is fixed, applied as such. The methodology of model is transdisciplinarity, while theory has simplified disjunctive disciplinary methodology. The model reality is complex. The theory reality is reductionist, disjunctive considered. The fundamental character of model is dynamicity. The fundamental character of theory is staticity. Within a model, we co-create. Theory produces decreation, gradual degeneration. Model argues, it uses rational thinking. Theory demonstrates, it uses logical thinking. The model detemporalizes, retemporalizes, while theory uses linear temporality. Model operates systematically, whereas theory is asystemic. This I presented last year in 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢 summer school. So why do we need concept? I argued that in order to really practice transdisciplinarity, we need a complete epistemological concept. So generally, we need concept for the paradoxical yet actually ternary structuring of dynamicity. This means for modeling. Modeling is or contains the act of transcending the paradox, where in relation to A and non-A appears the third term, included third. In the epistemological model that I propose, included third is the subject itself, the free will itself that decides. Included third is the freely chosen decision assimilated to the subject, and this is the central point of my research. This conclusion is exclusively related to integral linguistics, and I will have to explain in time what integral linguistics is, and with conjugation with transdisciplinarity, which I presented for the first time at the Third World Congress in Transdisciplinarity. Through conceptualization, it is not longer necessary to corroborate the current data inflation. The essence are enough. The essences are absolutely necessary, compulsory to work with transdisciplinarity, taking into account the demands of complexity. But do we know how to reach essences? This is possible through Koshelian integral linguistics, and I described in my doctoral thesis exactly how this conjugation is achieved. The essentializations that appear in 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫 are holomeric. They circumscribe the pilot model of a cultural integralism. These holomeric essences are as many epistemological openings, of which I will present here the system, what a system really is, and a few ideas about energia. Concerning system, I'm going to read the full quote from 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫. I'm just mentioning that I noted a few analogies in blue. I hope they're understandable looking at how the system works in other areas' activities. The system is a system, these are exactly the word of 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫. The system is a system of possibilities, of coordinates which indicate open ways and closed ways. It can be seen as a set of impositions, but also, better yet, it can be seen as a set of freedoms, given that it admits infinite achievements and only claims not to affect the functional condition of the linguistic instrument, institutional instrument, I said. It has a consultative character rather than an imperative one. If we are allowed an analogy, we would say that the system does not impose itself to the speaker, human in his activity, specific work, more than the canvas and the colors are imposed to the painter. The painter cannot abandon the canvas and he cannot use colors that he does not have, but within the limits imposed by the canvas and the colors at his disposal, his freedom of expression is absolute. Therefore, we could say that the system offers itself rather than imposes itself to the individual, providing him with the means of his unprecedented unique expression, while at the same time remaining intelligible to those who use the same system. What is imposed in reality on the individual, continues 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫, by limiting his freedom of expression and restricting the possibilities offered by the system to the framework set by traditional achievements, is the norm. So we can resume that a system is a system of possibilities rather than of constraints, of being inflexible as so-called systems are today. It has a consultative character rather than an imperative one. Within its imposed, in fact, necessary limits for creation, the freedom of expression is absolute, while excessive instrumentation limits freedom of expression. Also, the system provides the individual with means for his new expression, while the fragmentary so-called system blocks expression and creativity. As note, in the same manner, the 7 musical notes are the limits, the so-called constraints, through which freedom of creativity can manifest itself. Human beings have infinite freedom of infinite creativity only in the presence of a minimum necessary and sufficient, let us say paradoxical, set of constraints. And this is the concept, in fact, which etymologically means co-generativity, not intellectual platitude, but a minimum necessary and sufficient set of constraints, benchmarks, which sets the possibility of authentic freedom for human in all domains. And perhaps the example with the seven musical constraints, notes, is the best. We can see more about creativity, what creativity is for human being in the next slide. Humboldt, we can say a precursor of 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫, said that language is not ergon, product, but energia, activity. 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫 went to Aristotle, where the terms came from, and found that there are in fact 3 terms. Aristotle is not operating with a duality, but with a ternary structure, energia dynamis ergon. And indeed, energia cannot be conceived without reference to dynamis. Energia is the creative act prior to its own dynamis, and dynamis is the faculty, the possibility of accomplishing an activity. Here is this in potentia of activity, which leads to a competence, ability. Dynamis can be learned through experience and study, while energia cannot. It always surpasses, exceeds its own dynamis. As note, this differentiation is essential, vital to enter in the ternary world, which means, in fact, creativity, freedoms in all domains. I simply present here the slide which outlines the tripartite view of linguistic activity in 𝐒𝐲𝐢𝐫. Perhaps we will elaborate on this another occasion. I believe it is...
We have time, Dr. Muresan, if you wish. It's up to you. We still have 3 minutes, if it's enough.
I think I would prefer to finish the slides. Thank you.
Please, please.
Thank you. Okay. Continuing with the why we need concept. Further, we can say of the concept that it is the only one that integrates uncertainty. The only form to integrate, accept, and coherently work with uncertainty is the concept, because always one part must be processed, one part left free. We have a cataphatic and an apophatic part here in uncertainty, we can say. The same for multiple levels of reality, we need coherent benchmarks in order to work with assumptions, with ontological commitments in complexity, and coherent benchmarks means concept. A concept is possible exclusively through a fully articulated epistemology. The criteria of modern culture do not legitimize an epistemology. It can only be transdisciplinary, integrative, and complex legitimized, and this is a new culture, a mutation in science. I presented the titles of my papers because they suggest more than I can say in this limited time. I observed that the concept is an epistemological house, being an epistemological model, which gives us the coherent whole regarding the relationship of the human being with the universe. It is still said, but we must refer, in fact, today, to the universal type of relationship, which means to universality, so not to organic universe, but to its functionality. And I found that in the world culture, there are only 3 epistemological houses in the whole culture, which can be placed within the same dynamic schema. Through the whole history of humanity, this triad, archetype, metaphor, and concept has modeled, so they are models, our integrative understanding of reality and of integrated human development. Of these 3, only the concept has the capacity to effectively formulate a complete scientific epistemology. As note, only through epistemology we can work with science at the level of the whole. It is not a holistic approach. Holism, I repeat, uses reversed binary thinking, being the opposite of fragmentarism, as Basarab Niculescu and Edgar Morin draw attention to. In Romanian philosophy, we have the holomer, and in the epistemological model I propose, I am working with holomers. The prototype of this circular scheme is also holomeric. Oh, I don't know what happens. From the short description of each of them, I will point only the temporality, in the sense that, in my view, the archetype brings us the past. The metaphor, presentualized, works deeply with the present, and the concept is the only one that has the capacity to detemporalize situations and work with the future. It brings the future to us. I will describe more in article. It is also important that the concept offers an almost continuous shaping capacity because verum coincides with a fully articulated certum in Latin. The ternary epistemology model is based, as I have already indicated, on 3 fundamental doctrines, each of them representing or proposing a mutation in current science, exactly the same but from different perspectives, irreducibly necessary for the constitution of a model. This is the constitutive outline of the ternary epistemology which I proposed. And in dynamic modeling terms, the outline of a ternary epistemology can only be circular, and we can suggest the elementary self-consistent circularity irreducibly necessary for the development of a ternary epistemological model as follows. We have, on the one hand, the circularity of the relationship between integralism and transdisciplinarity in the process of constituting the integralist model, and on the other hand, the circularity between the small circulation and holomere complexity or complexity. The large circulation, we can call it, to suggest through an analogy with the small and large blood circulation the fact that they happen continuously and simultaneously. Okay, I'm getting close to the end. As I said, the apophatic-cataphatic relationship plays a key role in understanding the internal dynamics of a model concept. An important step was the research into integral linguistics and the metaphorology of Blaga, an important Romanian philosopher and poet. His metaphorology is unique worldwide. In this master thesis, I show the 3D development of healing idea, passing through different essential fields, having as its dome the posthumous conciliation between Stăniloae and Blaga. There were discussions regarding, in short, the fact that Blaga privileged mystery more than Taina. Taina is an untranslatable Romanian word which signifies mystery, but only under divine aspect, apophatic approachable, while the term mystery can also contain non-sacred, non-divine developments. And this is the shim on which I place a conclusive outline of the ideas, namely the spiritual path of the East, which in my view carry a universal dimension, so is for the human being in general, which supports the mentioned dynamic of the apophatic-cataphatic relationship shaped by the subject through free will. I have shown that this is the very included third of TD, therefore I place it as an irreducible ternary element within this circular prototype of the proposed epistemological model. And as conclusions, epistemology has the genuine potential to confront the challenges of our era and to offer coherent solution, answers, resolutions. So it is important to outline what epistemology is and to offer models. And for this, in my opinion, apophatic-cataphatic Eastern disposition of spirituality brings a necessary amplitude to the discussion. The culture and spirituality of a country are profoundly and inevitably shaped by its linguistic model, what Blaga called the stylistic matrix. Romanian language has a ternary disposition visible in intraductible ternary terms, having both Latin and Oriental origin, rooted in a Daco-Thracian substratum and enriched by multiple influences, of course, which orients it towards a spirituality of a universal openness. The epistemological model I propose is entirely conceived through the works of Romanian author Basarab Nicolescu, 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐭, Constantin Noica, Dumitru Stăniloae, Ștefan Lupașcu, and Barbu, Anton Dumitriu, 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐿𝐫. It was named here. Thinkers whose structures of thought reflect a ternary universal orientation. So, beyond the old binary distinction of major and minor cultures, we are moving today toward a genuinely universal horizon, shaped by dialogue, depth, and spiritual complexity. In this broader perspective, Romanian language and culture offer a meaningful example of synthesis, creation, and universality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lucia Muresan. I want this to continue because I feel like a proper student in my case with such an amazing presentation. Professeur Landier, everybody here, est-ce qu'il y a des commentaires? Would you like us to continue in English for the comments?
Oui. Je vous laisse traduire en anglais, Wafa, si ça ne vous ennuie pas. J'étais très impressionné par cette mise en relation entre la spiritualité et les traditions spirituelles et la transdisciplinarité. J'ai en tête deux choses. D'une part, ce que disent les musulmans ismaéliens. La formule qu'ils emploient est « Dieu n'est pas, Dieu est ». Ce n'est pas « Dieu n'est pas », ce n'est pas « Dieu est », car Dieu est au-delà du oui et du non. La deuxième référence à laquelle je pense est celle de Rumi, l'un des pères du soufisme, quand il dit « Je ne suis ni chrétien, ni juif, ni musulman, ni zoroastrien, je ne suis ni d'ici, ni d'ailleurs ».
Très bien, professeur, je vais essayer. I will try. Dr. Lucia Muresan, Professor Landier was saying that he was very impressed by the relationship between spiritual traditions and transdisciplinarity that you have portrayed and shared and explained in a brilliant way. And he also is reminded of the Ismailite Muslim branch of Islam, who say that God is not, God is. And finally, he mentions Mevlana Rumi, one of the fathers of Sufism, who says, I'm neither Christian, neither Muslim, neither Zoroastrian, neither so many things. Et qu'est-ce qu'il disait aussi, Rumi, pardon, à la fin?
Je ne suis ni d'ici, ni d'ailleurs.
And I'm neither from the east, the west, the north, the south. I'm neither from here, I'm neither from there.
Yes, I would like to point that through transdisciplinarity, we have to transcend binarity from yes and no, from negative and positive. And I think that the concept can structure the limits, the minimum necessary and sufficient limits between we can go as subject in our creativity. So our creativity is in a way our identity. I will explain more in article. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I cannot wait to read it, Dr. Lucia Muresan.
Thank you so much.
Watch this presentation 3-4 times until I internalize everything that I'm learning today. Est-ce qu'il y a des commentaires? Any comments, questions, impressions for Dr. Lucia Muresan today? We have David Beth who has one.
Yes, I also thought it was a very interesting presentation. Thank you so much. In the end, you said that was basically mainly conceived through the Romanian philosophical tradition that you referred to. And I was wondering whether, especially the later Martin Heidegger, with his ideas of the 𝐈𝐧𝐻𝐸ness and the overcoming of ontotheology and language as a method to open ourselves towards new futures and stuff like that, whether that would be also influencing your research or this tradition of thought.
Yes, I've studied Heidegger in 1997 at my dissertation work, and he is in there, but I have to write an article where I used it effectively.
I would love to read it because I'm a great fan of Heidegger and I really liked your presentation.
There are
I'm going to read it.
There are books, there are workings between 𝐈𝐧𝐻𝐸ness and Heidegger.
Exactly, yes.
There are. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So much, David Beth, for your question. Anybody? D'autres personnes? Anybody for Dr. Lucia Muresan's brilliant presentation today? If there aren't, and I'm sure there are here online and later on when we have the full video on the official website of the CIRET, I would like to ask your permission, David Beth, you are the next speaker. And everybody would like to ask your permission, but firstly, allow me to ask David Beth if it's okay to take 5 minutes break, 10-minute break, or we can continue. So you
definitely we can take a quick break for if somebody needs to go to the loo.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm ready anytime.
Should we make it 5 or 10 minutes?
Yeah, let's make it 5 minutes. I mean, I'm open, depending on how long you need.
I will take just 5 minutes, so I'll be here, everybody, after 5 minutes.
Okay.
If
so
you
whenever
are
you guys are ready,
we can start. We cannot wait to hear David Beth. Okay. So on prend une pause de 5 minutes, a little break for everybody, and we'll be back with David Beth. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so I would like to ask my dear Natalia Abdel Fattah if she would like to introduce David Beth.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everyone. It's a real pleasure and an honor to introduce our next speaker, my friend David. And I want to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude that he is able to be with us this evening, despite personal difficulties and a very demanding week. So thank you so much, David, for being here. By the way, I believe that the last time we met was on Zoom during Carl Duprel's reading group with Rico Sneller, right? And I'm very happy to see Jessica with us tonight as well. So hello, Jessica. We're pleased to have you here with us tonight. So David is an esoteric teacher, a Haitian voodoo priest, and a publisher, educated in Germany and the United States. He has lived and traveled widely, engaging deeply with living spiritual traditions as well as Western esoteric currents. He is also the co-owner of Theon Publishing and is known for his long-term dedication to serious initiatic and spiritual work. Today, he lives in Germany, where he focuses on advanced work with a small circle of dedicated students. This evening, David will offer us an introduction to Haitian voodoo, a tradition often misunderstood and one that deserves to be approached with respect, intellectual rigor, and openness of mind. David, thank you again for joining us and for sharing your experience and insights. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
I want to say, David, take all the time that you need.
Okay, great. I will do that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry that I didn't bring a PowerPoint. I usually don't do PowerPoints if I can avoid it, but this time I couldn't bring one because we had a death in the family just this week, so I was a little bit preoccupied with other things. So I hope you can still follow me, which shouldn't be a problem, because this presentation is going to be more introductory, because I think not everyone is familiar with Haitian voodoo or voodoo in general. So I thought it would be interesting to have a more introductory overview, which of course is hard to do even in half an hour. And you may wonder how a white person like me gets into Haitian voodoo. I was actually born in Africa and was raised there in a family of diplomats. And I've always been interested and exposed to spiritual practices of an Afrocentric nature, you could say. This is how then progressively I was also drawn to voodoo and to engage with voodoo in Africa, but also Haitian voodoo, which is a tradition and a religion where you have to be chosen by the spirits in order to receive initiation, or you have to inherit it through a family lineage. And I was actually initiated then in Haiti progressively to the highest level of the priesthood of voodoo. So from that plateau, I will try to deliver this lecture in an understandable fashion without additional help of slides. So let's get right into it in order to use this half hour. So I'm not going to speak to you as an outside commentator, but as someone who's actually engaged in the practice of Haitian voodoo, as I'm also, however, engaged in other practices of more Western esotericism or philosophy coming from Heidegger, life philosophy, Ludwig Klages, those types of angles. However, my life is organized basically, even though I'm also engaged with publishing as a mundane job, basically my life is organized by service to the spirits, service to the dead, which play an integral role in voodoo and in my other spiritual practices, and service to the community of practitioners that I engage with. Because you're an informed audience, I will translate terms and give a historical context. I will describe what can be described publicly, but it will also speak from inside the logic of the religion of voodoo. So obviously, unlike many people think, voodoo is neither a hobby nor is it an exotic curiosity. It is a coherent way of living in a world that is full of persons or personhood, some visible, some invisible, who must be approached with respect. And we have been talking before of what, or of the necessity to highlight what spiritual practices today, or even ancient spirituality or exotic spirituality, brings to the current discourse, brings to the modern world. And in a nutshell, to me personally, one of the most important things is that voodoo is entirely relational. It's what Heidegger would say, it's something where you always extend beyond yourself. So it's a breaking of a certain insulation, which the Western atomized individual no longer really perceives or experiences in the way that maybe other cultures can, or how we could in the past. And in the West, Heidegger, Ludwig Klages, and other people have engaged this topic very coherently and very powerfully, in my opinion. So this, to me, is something of the most important takeaways, the ability to attach yourself or learn from a living tradition, which is unbroken for a long time, which still practices and cultivates a relational kind of life, relational towards the human and non-human forms of personhood we encounter. So let me begin with a word that often blocks understanding, which is voodoo with the double O, D-O-O, like the voodoo we know from American movies and from Pulp Fictions. In English, it is often used as an insult, an accusation of irrationality or fraud, dark manipulation. Oh, you're going to do voodoo today. Oh, yeah, to manipulate this or that. In movies, it becomes a set of props. We know the voodoo doll, we know the zombies, or the devil, which, you know, is exotic savages engage with. That kind of voodoo, the Pulp Fiction voodoo, of course, has absolutely nothing to do with the voodoo that I'm engaged with, and which I think must be highlighted against mud in which it is being dragged constantly. So when I say voodoo, specifically in my case, I'm speaking about the Haitian tradition of voodoo, although I'm also familiar with Benin or West African voodoo as well. But this time we talk about Haitian voodoo and the specific way it unfolds. So what do we mean when we say Haitian voodoo? We mean a religion formed in Haiti out of many streams, African lineages carried across the Atlantic, Catholic materials imposed through colonial rule, and Haitian creativity forged under slavery, revolution, and the long work of survival after independence. We do not mean a single centralized institution. Voodoo has no universal catechism and no single authority that speaks for everyone. So there's no pope, there's no single authority. We have houses, family lineages, hunfor, we call it, each with its own lineage, each with its own so-called règlement. It's ritual rule. There are shared structures, but there's also variations. If you learn voodoo, you do not only learn certain ideas, but you learn within a house, within a community, and a way of life, and a way of doing things the way it's been in this community and through this lineage. So if you want one sentence that captures our center of gravity, it is this: voodoo is a religion of service. In Haitian Creole, we say servir loa, serving the spirits, or serve the spirits. Service is not slavery, it is relationship. You feed and honor those who feed and protect you. You keep promises, you repay gifts. You acknowledge that this life, or that life is sustained by a web of seen and unseen support. With that orientation, I will move to four paths: history, the sacred ecology of bon Dieu, the Loa, and the dead, the ritual house and its arts of presence, and the practical work, the healing, the protection, and what outsiders may also call magic. Along the way, I will address the myths that cling to us. So first, let's go into history, just quickly. So voodoo was forged in the colony the French called Saint-Domingue, in the plantation world of extreme violence. People were ripped from many African regions and thrown together, speakers of different languages, carriers of different ritual systems, healers, diviners, initiates, and ordinary people whose lives had been built around local gods and ancestors. On the plantation, those differences met under pressure. That pressure threatened transmission. Families were broken, elders died, gatherings were policed, but it also demanded new solidarity across nations. Voodoo is one of the creations that came from that forced pluralism, a religion of translation and convergence. Colonial law tried to control this. The Code Noir required baptism and declared Catholicism the only legitimate religion. But on many plantations, Catholic instruction was thin and inconsistent. What was present were images, feast days, prayers, saints, names, holy waters, candles, and all types of other materials Haitians could take up and rework. So the Haitians did not mix religions because they were confused. They built a sacred ecology that could hold what was imposed and what was remembered. Many Haitians still move between Catholic Church and the Voodoo peristyle because they experienced the word as layered, not as a set of exclusive boxes. And then came the Haitian Revolution. I will not reduce that history to a single ceremony which triggered a revolutionary act, although there was a famous ceremony, Bois Caïman, which was supposed to be the cinder which lit up the revolution. But I would say this, Voodoo gatherings were among the places where people could build collective commitment under conditions designed to form and forge community. In Haitian memory, certain stories and ritual moments stand as signs that a people can bind themselves together, call power, and act. After independence, Voodoo grew in rural and urban life, often in tension with elites who wanted Haiti to look European and who treated Voodoo as shameful. There were times when the institutional church was weak or absent in the countryside, and Voodoo houses carried much of the work of ritual life, naming, healing, settling disputes, and tending the dead. In the 20th century, repression and foreign fantasy shaped the public image. Campaigns attacked Voodoo as superstition, destroyed peristyles or sacred spaces, broke drums, and burned the sacred objects. At the time, outsiders turned Haiti into a stage for fear, primitive rites, black magic, zombies. Those stories did not simply entertain. They taught the world to misunderstand. Also an island and a people who stood as a kind of anomaly in a colonial empire, or within a colonial empire, there was a Black Republic, which was completely shameful for the Westerners who thought themselves, of course, to be way superior to any African nation or African peoples. And yet Voodoo, without that pressure, did not vanish. It adapted because it is a living tradition. It traveled. Haitians migrated, and Voodoo crossed borders into North America, into Europe, in neighboring Caribbean worlds. In the diaspora, Voodoo was served in basements and rented halls, in backyards and storefronts. They negotiated new laws and new scrutiny, but the Loa always traveled with them, because the Loa are tied to relationship, not only geography. In the diaspora, you can sometimes see the layered character of the world very clearly. A community might gather on a Saturday night to sing and pray and share food, and in the same service, they may recite Catholic prayers, salute saints' images, and also draw the veve, the chalk drawings, to serve the Loa. A child may be baptized in the midst of that gathering, not as a copy of church ritual, but as a way of placing the child under protection within our sacred ecology. Bon Dieu, the saints, the Loa, the ancestors, and the living family who will raise them. What looks like mixture from the outside often feels from inside like continuity of care. This is the historical ground. So now what is the world that Voodoo assumes? Many people try to classify Voodoo by asking, is it monotheism? Is it polytheism? That question does not help much. Even the Haitians among themselves discuss this frequently. And of course, the more educated Haitians who practice Voodoo, advocate for monotheism because, for them it rings more civilized, and it has the, the glamour of being among the monotheistic world religions. However, other people push for polytheism a bit more. I'm more of the polytheist type for different reasons, philosophical reasons mostly. So the question does not help. In Voodoo, we speak of Bon Dieu, the good God, Bon Dieu, the creator and ultimate source. But here, the God must be more considered like the Gnostic, absent God, the alien God, the God who doesn't really participate in human affairs. Bondi is real to the Haitians, but Bondi is distant, not because God is absent, but because it's too vast for daily bargaining. Bondi does not need to be fed by gifts or prayers or anything. For the intimate work of life, health, protection, justice, fertility, work, love, grief, we live in the relationship with the intermediaries, the Loa, the spirits of Haitian Voodoo. So if I translate Loa as spirits, I risk making them sound vague. But also angels would be wrong, because then we would immediately, have all the prejudices of angelology, of Islam or Christianity in mind, and that is not really the same thing here. Although it could be close, or the angel of the Kabbalah, or these are all different in degrees. So let's stick to Loa to give it its own term. They have names, they have songs, they have families, they have colors, tastes, and temperaments. They have histories. They can be generous, they can be strict, they can be playful or dangerous. They can be offended and they can be reconciled. We do not treat them as distant ideas, we meet them immediately. We organize the Loa in families, often called nations, nations. Two large poles you will hear are Rada and Petro-Loa. These are very famous, the most famous. Rada in many houses is associated with the older, cooler energies and ancestral continuity. Petro is associated with hotter, sharper power, often linked to the New World experience of violence and struggle, and often used for defense and urgent work, and magic work often. And then there is the family of the 𝐒𝐬𝐢𝐫, the spirits of death and fertility, who speak truth without politeness and remind us that the grave is real, and that life, precisely because it ends, must be honored. That sometimes reminds me of Heidegger's address of the coffin, and when he talks about the integral world where death and life are celebrated in one continuous environment. A few names will help you to feel the texture of the sacred ecology. We greet Legba, one of the major spirits, first, because Legba is the gatekeeper, opens the road between worlds. We serve Dambala and 𝐈𝐧𝐻𝐿𝐴, cool forces of creation and continuity. We serve Ogu, force of iron, labor, and the moral weight of struggle. We serve 𝐒𝐳𝐿𝐴 in many faces because human love is never one thing. We serve the Marasa, the sacred twins, who teach that the world is never only singular. And we serve the Baron, the 𝐒𝐤𝐴, who keep the cemetery gates and who teach sometimes with laughter how to live with death. You may notice something else. In many voodoo spaces, you will see Catholic saints' images and hear prayers that sound Catholic, and often they are Catholic. This is not Catholicism disguised, and it is not confusion. It is a certain history made visible. A saint's image can be a door. The Loa can stand in relation to saints without being reduced to these saints. We acknowledge that the word has many roots. So let's talk about the dead. Without the dead, you cannot understand voodoo. In our world, the dead do not simply disappear. The dead become different, and they require care. The boundary between living and dead is not a brick wall, it is a crossing. We often speak of an invisible water that separates the worlds. The dead and many spirits live in en bas de l'eau, under the waters, in a place we call Guinea. So Guinea here is both Africa as ancestral homeland and the otherworldly domain of the ancestors. When we sing to Guinea, we're naming a depth beneath the present. Because of this, death is not only a biological event, it is a social and spiritual process. We do work to cool what must be cooled, to guide the dead towards the proper place, and to transform memory into ancestral presence. There is often a rhythm of time involved, month, a year and a day, because the dead do not become ancestors instantly, they are guided. They are honored, they are sent on, and the living are taught how to live with that transition. This takes us to Voodoo's view of a person. If you come from a modern Western idea of the individual, you may imagine the self as sealed inside the skin, the monadic personality, that when we employ, let's say, Jungian psychoanalysis, since we mentioned it before, we can get to know our unconscious, but in the end, it's always the same quest to basically understand the monad, to basically highlight its hidden factors and understand ourselves and become the rulers of that monad and not be exposed to unconscious or outside forces. Basically, it's the attempt to insulate always further and become always more in control over who we are. This is the typical Western way, even in the Western spirituality, the triumph of the monad. It's very different in Afrocentric spirituality. And it's very different in certain philosophies of the West, but very rarely. So in Voodoo, we understand the person as a composite. It's layered and relational. We speak of multiple soul components, often described as two angels, one tied to life force and destiny, another tied to consciousness and agency. We say the head is not just an organ, it's a vessel. The tet is a pot that must be cared for because the head is where spirit and person meet. That is why head work matters so much in Voodoo. Washing, cooling, feeding, aligning. When someone is troubled, we do not only ask what happened in their mind, we ask what has happened in their relations, with family, with the dead, with the spirits, and with their own head. Health is not simply the absence of disease, it is harmony and awareness. It is also why dreams matter. Many people think Voodoo is only public ceremony and dramatic possession, but the Loa also speak quietly. They speak through coincidence and bodily sensation, and they speak through dreams. A dream can warn you to avoid a road. It can show you that a spirit is calling you. It can give you a song you have never heard before. In our tradition, new ritual knowledge can arrive as a gift. Now, how do these realities become visible? Through the house you're attached to and through ritual. The basic institution is the Hunfo, the Voodoo house. A house is led by a priest or priestess, so there is equality in Voodoo. And actually, there are more women in the Voodoo clergy than men. So Voodoo is very, very female-centered, you could say. A house is led by a priest or a priestess, Ungan or Mambo, and supported by initiates and friends of the house. We have singers who carry the liturgy, drummers who speak with their hands, and attendants who keep the space safe, especially when the spirits arrive. A house is also a family. So, you know, they call them brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and so forth. But it's not a metaphor, it's an obligation. The central ceremonial space is often the peristyle, an open-sided place where the community gathers. At the center is the potomiton, the center pole. To an outsider, it may look like an architecture, but to us it's a road, an axis connecting below and above, like the shamanic pole. Living and invisible. The community and the wider cosmos, those are connected here with that pole. We salute it, we circle it, we dance it, because it is where the worlds touch. On the ground, you may see the veve, the drawn designs traced in cornmeal or sometimes other substances. Each veve is a signature and an invitation. It marks who's being called, and it makes a map on the earth for presence that cannot be seen with ordinary eyes. Around the space, you will see altars with candles, water, rum, coffee, flowers, food, cloth, metal, and certain images. This is a language of offering. It's a ritual grammar, you could say. It is also a history of survival. We make sacred worlds with what is at our disposal. You may also notice our flags, the drapeau, often heavy with sequins and beads, shimmering in candlelight. They are not decoration. A flag can name a loa, mark the identity of a house, and carry history. When a flag is lifted and saluted, we are not only showing art, we are showing allegiance and memory. In Haiti, where so much has been taken, labor, land, dignity, the ritual aesthetics become a way of saying, we are still here, and our spirits still have a home. The arts of Voodoo, veve, drums, songs, dance, altar works, flags, a way of thinking with the senses. And then there's the sound, the drumming, the singing, the dance. They're not entertainment added to religion. They are religion. The drum is speech. The song holds names, praise and instruction. The dance patterns shape energy and invite a certain family of spirits. You cannot separate Voodoo from its arts because the arts are how we know. At certain moments when the conditions are right, then the loa may arrive to possession. We say the loa mounts the person and the person becomes the horse. The language matters. It makes clear that the person is not simply acting a part, they are being ridden. It also makes clear that not every body can carry every spirit. We say a small horse cannot carry great riders. Possession requires capacity, preparation, care. When a loa mounts someone, authority shifts. The spirit may greet the community, bless children, diagnose illness, settle disputes, demand offerings, or simply dance to their own rhythm. The mounted person is protected and cooled, and afterward they are cared for again. Possession is not chaos. It is a disciplined social event with rules. Voodoo is one of the most complex religions I've ever come across. Even for me, when I was initiated, when you get exposed to layers that you're not aware of before, it's an immensely complex, layered religious terrain. Because you asked for structure, I should also speak briefly about initiation. In Voodoo, there are many ways to belong. Some people serve as friends of a house for years without full initiation. Some never get initiated. Others are called into deeper obligations. Initiation, what we call kanzo, is not just learning information. It is becoming able to hold and serve power safely. It is often spoken as a rebirth. The point is not secrecy for secrecy's sake. The point is that power is real and training matters. So in my case, in the last rites and initiations of Voodoo, we were secluded in a very tiny space for 1 week under very severe conditions in order to be prepared by many rituals and many ongoings within that sacred chamber in order to be able and to be capable to sustain the intrusions of the spiritual world. So training matters. Training matters a lot because otherwise it could shatter the mental capacity, the mental state of a person if they're not prepared for these types of spiritual exposure. Now let's turn quickly to the practical work, healing, protection, and what we call magic. In Voodoo, religion and healing are not separate departments. People come because life hurts, especially in places like Haiti. Sickness, infertility, anxiety, conflict, sudden loss, a string of misfortunes that feels patterned, sometimes causes physical, sometimes it's not. And if it's physical, we will say so. Sometimes the cause is social, envy, conflict, broken obligations. Sometimes the cause may be spiritual. A neglected spirit and unhappy ancestors, a head out of balance. Often the cause is mixed. The response is therefore layered. So basically, like in Sufism, I met a Sufi sheikh once, as in my capacity also as a Gnostic bishop, and we spoke about these things where he told me he is everything. He's a physician of the heart, but he's also midwife. He's also counselor, and he's basically a 24/7 a servant to his community. And this is exactly how I feel as a priest of Voodoo, but also as a Gnostic. So we work with leaves or sacred ingredients, sacred herbs, because plants carry knowledge and force. We make baths to cleanse, to cool, and to protect. We use prayer and offerings to restore reciprocity, because always understand that Voodoo is relational. The holistic approach to health, I think, has largely been forgotten in much of Western culture. And we have some traditional medicines, or Eastern medicines at least, try to see the holistic mental and body and spiritual side of things and kind of weaves it together, which I think is very important. This is where the language of power becomes unavoidable. In Haitian Creole, we speak of a point, a charge, a condensed concentration of efficacy or of power. A point can be a rite, a song, a place, an object, or even an initiation. I can show you, since I don't have slides, I can show you a point. A magic object. This, for example, is a magical object that carries a very strong power, a concentration of powers, and all the ingredients inside and outside have symbolic meaning, and all work together to form a certain concentration of power. Because, of course, we believe that objects hold power too, like Ludwig Klages, Natalia knows Ludwig Klages pretty well, I guess, says there's nothing without personhood. There's nothing that cannot enthuse. And a certain assemblage of ingredients creates a certain footprint of power. So this one is one of them. while this one would be, let's say, just a sacred object for a spirit, a ceremonial object to pour sacred liquid for a certain spirit, so just as an example. So it can be a point, can be a point, can be an initiation, can be an object, can be many different things. It is a focused way of organizing attention, materials, and spiritual relationships so that something becomes effective. A point is treated as a living thing. It must be maintained, it can be strengthened, and it can be neglected. From this perspective, the objects you may have heard about, paquet, bundles, bottles, make sense. They're crafted containers of relationship. A paquet may bind together leaves, substances, prayers, and spirit force to protect a home or a person. A bottle may be made as a boundary, a trap, or a reservoir, depending on the work you want to do. Outsiders imagine voodoo objects as irrational fetish. Inside voodoo, objects are contracts. They hold obligations, care, and sometimes danger, because power can be used in more than one direction. This brings us to ethics. Voodoo is not naive about human intention. We know envy exists. We know people can harm each other. In Haiti, that's prevalent, and we know that is happening all day. We also know spiritual force can be weaponized. That is why many Haitians speak of working with one hand and with two hands. This is a moral distinction between protective work only and aggressive work. A good priest is not simply the one who claims the most force. A good priest is the one who keeps the règlement, who cares for people without exploitation, who knows when to refuse a request, and who takes responsibility when spiritual work goes wrong. But at the same time, let's not be mistaken, voodoo priests also work sometimes for hire. That's how they also make a living. Somebody comes to them and needs something, wants to get a job, and asks the voodoo priest to help a little bit to increase his chances. That's something that is done, and it's done quite often. Works like this, magic work. I do this as well with clients in Europe, America, and effectively, I guess. Now let me address some of the most common myths directly. Myth 1, the voodoo doll. Pin in, and something happens. The Haitian voodoo does not revolve around dolls with pins. What we use are far more ordinary and far more meaningful: prayer, offerings, veve, baths, songs, and the careful building of relationships. Also, dolls, they exist. I have various dolls on a little altar, on a voodoo altar over there, but these are these are basically homes for spirits, or they're used in various ways. So dolls do exist, but not as you know it from the movie. Myth 2, zombies as monsters. In Haiti, when people speak of zombie, they are rarely speaking about a contagious cannibal creature. They're speaking about a collapse of personhood and agency. A zombie is a figure of theft, theft of will, theft of soul, theft of labor. In a country born out of slavery, that fear is not abstract. It is a moral memory and a warning about exploitation. So in Haiti, voodoo exists. Zombies exist. So zombies, souls can be taken and put in bottles, like I showed you. In such bottles, a soul, a zombie astral could be kept. But then there's also the zombie of a person. Sometimes, you see them shuffling in the streets in Haiti or rural Haiti, and people say, this is a real zombie who has been captured by a sorcerer. His soul has been captured by a sorcerer, and now he's controlled in that way. So myth number 3, devil worship. Voodoo is not organized around Satan. We do not center a cosmic enemy who mirrors God. We live in a world of spirits, some benevolent, some dangerous, all requiring proper relationship. Because the world is not only good or bad. The world is as it is, ambiguous. Outsiders have often labeled what they fear as the devil because that is the only category they have for non-Christian power. But these categories do not fit. But voodoo is very good at adapting. Voodoo is also very good at integrating. So just as voodoo in West Africa integrates, for example, Hindu gods, And I've seen in voodoo temples in Benin figures of Kali and other goddesses and gods being used as figures and icons for voodoo gods. Same in voodoo, you have also a Loa called Lucifer, and who's synchronized with other spirits of a more African ancestry. So sometimes what's labeled against you can be included in inverted, so it gives you power. Myth 4, sexual frenzy and moral disorder. Yes, voodoo can be earthy. The 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐫 especially can be obscene. Bodies move, rum flows. The 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐫 make very sexual jokes and are very inappropriate to a woke audience, I guess. But this is not orgy as spectacle. It is ritual language and moral teaching. The 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐫 remind us that the body is not shameful and that death is not polite. And that death, Eros and Thanatos, are very closely related. Voodoo also complicates simple ideas of gender. When a Loa mounts a person, the body expresses the spirit's identity. A man can be mounted by a female spirit and takes on the gestures of it. A woman may be mounted by a male spirit, takes on his stance. This is one way voodoo teaches that the human body can be a crossroad, open to forces larger than social categories. At the same time, voodoo is not a free-for-all. Houses have rules. Service requires a very great deal of discipline. So let me close what I want you to carry away today. If you approach voodoo as a problem to be explained away, you will miss the beauty of it, and you will miss it entirely. If you approach it as an exotic spectacle, you will also miss it. Voodoo is best approached as a disciplined religious field that answers real human needs: how to live with misfortune, how to heal, how to honor the dead, how to build community, how to hold history without being crushed by it. Voodoo's theology is not written in a single book, but it is consistent in practice. Bon Dieu is a creator. The lower intermediaries and persons, or have personhood. The dead remain present and must be embraced. The person is multi-layered and the head is a vessel that must be cared for. The world is porous, and ritual is a technology of relationship. Voodoo's institutions are not centralized, but they are real. Houses, lineages, reglements, roles, initiations, obligations. Voodoo's aesthetics are not decorative. Drumming, songs, dance, veve, flags, and altar work are ways of knowing and ways of remembering, and also ways of engaging. When we say, nous là, we are here, we do not mean only that voodoo survived. We mean that we continue to make presence, meaning, and power in a world that often tried to erase voodoo, but also plurality. So if we can leave you with 5 final sentences, they are these. Haitian voodoo is a living, cruel religion born from African memory, colonial constraint, and Haitian invention, and that is now a worldwide religion that has white people, Asian people, black people, and all kinds of people. It is a religion of service, reciprocity, and obligation, humans serving the spirits and spirits sustaining human life. It is a populated cosmos in which Bon Dieu is creator, the lower are persons and powers, and the dead remain part of the community. It is an art of presence, made through drums, songs, dance, veve, and crafted objects that hold relationship and responsibility. And it is not the fantasy called voodoo with 4 O's, not dolls, not devils, not monsters, but a serious religious world that deserves to be understood in its own terms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations, everybody, for this very generous and very beautiful, for me, introduction to voodoo. I feel I am less ignorant today than I was yesterday, thanks to you, David Beth.
Hope so. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Much gratitude. Any questions, comments, appreciations, insights? Oh, we have Natalia.
Thank you, Wafa. Thank you, David, for your presentation. This is the first time I hear you talk about Haitian voodoo, and it was a real pleasure. So thank you so much. I have a few comments to say. You mentioned polytheism. It can be read as a way of affirming the one through its dispersed manifestations. We do not grasp divinity in totality, but encounter it in names, powers, and figures, fragments of a source, let's say. In that sense, it resembles the dorsal view of God in Judaism. We do not see the face of the Absolute, only what remains after its passage, traces, effects, and partial epiphanies. This is also a helpful lens for approaching Haitian voodoo with respect. Honoring the dead is not a spectacle, but a lived spiritual ethic of continuity. The ancestors remain part of the community, and caring for them through remembrance, prayer, offerings, and ritual sustains the thread between visible and invisible life. And this returns us to the question of ethics, not only in Haitian voodoo, but in today's world as well, beyond stereotypes. So thank you so much, David, and I hope we meet again in another event organized as well by CIRET. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Cheers. And in case someone is interested, we just interested with my publishing company, we just released actually a book on Freemasonry in the Haitian imaginary. So there is actually Freemasonry in Haiti, a very interesting branch of Freemasonry, which is in line with all the big Freemasonic bodies, especially also, of course, French Masonry was very influential. And also it intersects with voodoo. So within voodoo, there are Masonic influences, and within Haitian voodoo, there are Masonic influences. So it's actually a book written and composed by scholars. So maybe that's of interest to people interested.
Yeah, so you're giving us the idea of a new series. And I'm thinking, Professor Landier, what do you think? And Wafa, what do you think? This can be a great idea for a new series.
Professeur Landier, je pensais aux sagesses, la future thématique de nos symposiums. I was thinking about the next symposium series on wisdoms.
We cannot hear you, Professor.
Votre micro est fermé, Professeur.
Yes, I think that what we heard of all presentations is very fascinating, because it's a confluence in diversity, and you help us to think beyond frontiers.
Thank you.
And transdisciplinarity is a way to think beyond frontiers of the village of Heidegger.
Hey, sweetie.
I think that we absolutely have to publish what we heard today. And this, I think that the act of the symposium will be very, very interesting, because we are not very many in the session, but we must diffuse what we do, because it's a contribution for comprehension between different traditions. Vodou is for an Occidental French people not comprehensible. How you say, Wafa?
Oui, c'est parfait. Comprehensible.
Comprehensible. Yes. It's not rational. Or, for Vodou, it's my way of thinking, which is irrational. And we must go beyond rationality and irrationality. We try to build the roots of peace in the world, and I think that by our reflections, we give a contribution to the spirituality of tomorrow. The spirituality of tomorrow cannot be only one or another tradition, but beyond the different church, religions, and traditions, I think. So we have very interesting perspective, and Natalia, I agree with you. We have to think to it.
That's great. That's great. So, David, we have other events to organize together.
Yes.
That's great.
I'll be happy to participate. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
And I hope we will another time, David, Lucia, Margaret, and Kate.
I had a quick question to David Beth about a concept I just had in my mind today, which is about voodoo, but also about loi. So would you say that the loi is the spirits who are more powerful than a person's deceased relatives and ancestors? Is there
In some
power
ways,
dynamic?
in some ways, yes and no. So there are actually ancestors that become loi, so they can be elevated. So, for example, some of the more fiery or fierce spirits of the Petro nation are actually historical figures that fought, let's say, in the Haitian Revolution.
Yes.
Or, you know, tortured people who had or who were killed by colonial powers in gruesome ways, who then were martyrs basically for the revolutions, for the revolutionaries. So yes, there is so usually the Loa are more powerful than ancestors, but the ancestors are more close to us. So they are more easily accessible and accessible for everyone. While the more complicated or complex spirits are accessible only for the specialists, in a sense, although possession can happen to anyone. Or the spirits can communicate to everyone if the spirits decide that's what they want to do. But then usually the people afflicted will consult with a specialist to work out what it is that is happening. Yeah, so there are degrees of power, and the Loa are the most powerful.
Yes, thank you so much. My question was deeply rooted in perhaps a thought of animism surviving a little bit through voodoo. But
Definitely, definitely.
Yes, of course.
I'm basically, I would consider myself an animist more than anything. So I even would reject in my personal work any reductionism of enthusing powers, what the Greek would call daemons, to a source. So I reject, like Ludwig Klages or even Heidegger, I would reject a source that we could reduce things to. So I try to overcome that kind of thinking and think within a relational pattern, you could say. Yeah, so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have more questions, comments, appreciations, insights? Otherwise,
I would love to have your text, David, because all the contributions will be published in Adjuri. So I would be delighted to have your text as well as Lucia's text as well and the other contributors.
Okay.
Lucia, Dr. Muresan, can I, with your permission, read your appreciation, or would you like to read it in the chat? Because I see you sent a message. If David saw it, it's fine.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Otherwise, maybe we can vocalize
I'm very
it.
bad with computers.
Okay, great. Respectfully for Dr. Muresan's choice.
Thank you, Lucia. Appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. So we usually wrap up with le mot de la fin, or the word. I don't know how to say the mot de la fin in English. That's the only thing I don't know how to say because I love it in French. Le mot de la fin. Oui, professeur Landier, quel serait, à votre avis, je pense que vous avez, you have said, for me, beautifully, the mot de la fin. So should we try another one, or shall we stay with the one you suggested when you were commenting on everybody's work, including David Beth's work? Présentation.
Je vais le dire en français et vous laisser traduire, Wafa. C'est que le monde de demain ne sera ni le monde occidental, ni le monde des traditions héritées. Il sera quelque chose de nouveau au-delà des différentes traditions et qui existent aujourd'hui à travers le monde.
So, Professor Landier was saying that tomorrow's word will not be from today's word of traditions. C'est ça, le monde des traditions
Oui.
d'aujourd'hui ou d'hier, les deux? D'accord. Mais il sera, and it will be, qu'est-ce que vous avez dit vers la fin, pardon?
Il sera au-delà.
Au-delà, beyond. So it will be beyond the word of traditions as we know it.
Oui.
Today. C'est ça? Donc, au-delà de ce qu'on sait.
Il intégrera la spiritualité de demain, reste à inventer au-delà des traditions, des différentes traditions qui existent aujourd'hui.
So it will fully integrate the spirituality of today. Donc, il intégrera la spiritualité d'aujourd'hui. C'est ça?
Oui.
La deuxième partie que vous avez mentionnée.
Il sera au-delà des traditions actuelles.
And it will be beyond today's traditions. Voilà.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I was a little bit slow. My cats were making weird noises and I was feeling that it may bother me. So j'hésitais. I was asking to close the microphone now. Sorry for making you repeat, Professeur Landier. Très bien. Est-ce que vous avez d'autres suggestions? Other suggestions?
Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much for Wafa. She directed very well the meeting. Thank you, Natalia, and thank you to all of you.
Thank you, everybody. Merci tout le monde for being here with us today, and you will receive a link to the video shortly afterwards.
Yes.
Thank you, merci.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Merci.